Welcome back, Button Club members, to an episode of the Safe Sets podcast. I am one of your hosts, Shadow Fury, and with me, as always, is...
Ricky Icebeam.
That's right. And what are we going to be talking about in today's episode, my friend?
So we're going to be talking about potential Season 2 characters for Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, so we have set up a little... Let me show you guys here. We have set up the picker wheel, as if you're familiar with our last tier list video. And we've entered in 59 different characters that aren't currently in Street Fighter 6 that have been in Street Fighter before, correct?
Correct, starting from Street Fighter 2.
That's right. And then what was the other stipulation you said?
So we're excited to see what we're going to see for Season 2, but if Capcom creates brand new characters, then we have no way of knowing who they are or what they're about. And so we're just ignoring that and basically picking of the characters that we do know about from previous Street Fighter titles, which ones do we want to see and which ones do we not want to see?
Yeah. Which I'm sure the list is is a lot longer with what we don't want to see
yes.
than what we do want to see, especially with, experience from older Street Fighters and things like that.
Right, and also taking into account Street Fighter 6 mechanics. If there was like a hyper offensive character in a game like Street Fighter 2, for example, add Drive Rush. I don't want to see them do that.
That's true. That's true. And on top of that, also including like... not clones exactly, but characters that function like previous characters. So, we have Lily in this game who has the same similar functions of THawk from back in the day. So I know I have a couple of people in my head that I wouldn't necessarily like to see them again, but maybe take that character archetype and bring them back in a reskin sort of way.
Right.
So without wasting any more time, let's just get right into it. We'll keep this nice and random and fun for everybody. So here we go. Character number 1.
Of course.
Yo.
I feel like when we do the picker wheel, it always picks a really interesting character first. Like when we were doing the tier list, I think it picked Luke first.
Yep. It's like it knows, right?
Yeah.
While I was entering these in, I'm giving feedback like, oh yeah, I'd like to see them, and then
it's listening.
It's listening. So,
right, so let's go over to our tier list. And let's talk about Urien. So Urien was originally in Street Fighter 3, which I didn't play very much Street Fighter 3. Wasn't really a fan. But Urien came back for Street Fighter 5, and so I assume that a lot of our listeners have experienced Urien from Street Fighter 5.
Yes, and all of his glory.
Yeah, so what was your experience with Urien in Street Fighter 5?
So, I thought he looked super cool, was very intimidating with his kit, also intimidating to play because of all the mix-ups that I almost didn't understand then with Aegis Reflector and all that. Obviously a strong character. That's really about it. I always had a hard time playing against them online too, and respected anyone that was a Urien player because you're like, oh, if they're playing Urien, there's no way that they're just tooling around. They know how to play Street Fighter.
Right, and my experience with Urien from Street Fighter 5 was basically because the character could play for you. If I ran into a Diamond Urien, I wasn't that afraid. But if I ran into a Diamond Ryu, I was much more afraid because it's much harder to get to Diamond with Ryu than it is with a character like Urien.
Oh, okay, that autoplay.
So before we started picking characters, I was saying, we're going to talk about the characters from the previous games, but then try to take into account the new mechanics. And I think Drive Rush Urien is absolutely frightening.
Yeah, absolutely. No kidding.
I'm going to go ahead and say I would not like to see Urien. I wouldn't hate to see him. And so I'm thinking about putting him at C tier.
Whoa. All right, so we need to find a common ground because I would love to see Urien come back.
What tier would you put him in before I said what I said?
He was on my list to be he was number 1 on my perfect wish list was to see Urien.
Okay, so if I picked C and you picked S, then I'm fine with leaving him in A tier.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
That seems like a good compromise.
I would love to see...
Oh, we should switch the screen so they can see us placing.
Good call. Damn it. Try to be too dynamic sometimes. We said A tier, right?
Yeah, A tier.
All right, cool.
And then for this tier list, the left to right on each tier won't matter in it.
Yeah. It's not in an actual order on that tier.
Right, there won't be a top of A tier versus bottom of A tier.
Yeah.
With the character strength tier list, it made sense to do that. But here, it's just, who do we want to see? Who do we not want to see? So let's go back to the picker wheel. So with so many characters, we're going to try to keep this moving.
Yes.
We're not going to spend 5 minutes on every character and make a 6-hour video. Is that Ibuki?
All right.
So Ibuki's an interesting character. She was originally in Street Fighter 3. She came back in 4, and she came back in 5. But then in Street Fighter 6, they made Kimberly, who's a character extremely similar to Ibuki. And so this is a character that I expect to see. But if, we're taking viability out of the equation, or, who we think Capcom would want to put into the games out of our thought process, then I would love to see Ibuki. I'd probably put her in A tier.
Really? See, thank you. I don't care to see her again, and I think there's less likelihood because she's been in 3 games straight.
3 games straight, and Kimberly's basically the new Ibuki.
Yeah. So you would put her where?
I was going to say A. Where were you going to say?
We'll compromise on B. I'd probably say C, right?
Sure. Yeah, B tier sounds good to me.
Okay, not bad. Yeah, that left-right mix-up stuff.
Oh, yeah, especially in Street Fighter 4, which, ironically, in Street Fighter 6 wouldn't be such a big deal because you have parry.
Because you have parry. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Same thing with the overhead mix-up. It's like, if you're just holding parry, left, right, high, low, not my problem.
Parry.
11. So 11 is a character in Street Fighter 5, and it was basically a random select character.
Yeah. It was like a fun character, right? Because no matter... It went off of who your opponent picked, he would just mimic that character, correct?
No. So 11 was random select. I think the only difference between random select and 11 is that because 11 looked like the pale white color, it was just letting your opponent know you picked random select.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know that. Not a character that is popular really at all, right?
Right. I mean, really, it's not a character. It's really like a Street Fighter 5 function.
Do it where?
Right down here.
Damn, man, you're good at seeing these. So where would you put Mr. 11?
So because 11's not really a character, it's really just random select, but letting your opponent know you picked random select. I'd be very happy to see it come back. I don't see why not. It doesn't really change the game at all.
Okay.
And so I'm going to go ahead and put that in S.
S? Wow.
Like I said, there's no downside. It's really not a character. It's just a function of the game to let your opponent know that you're crazy and you picked random select, and then if they lose to you, they should be extra salty.
Okay. That's a perfect character for Tomlet.
That is Tomlet's main.
Yeah.
We need Tomlet's main to come in Street Fighter 6.
But I think, when you're already in character select, you press square, you get random select, and that's already even its own rank having the random.
So, yeah, and so in a way, 11, when you do random select in ranked, you get a rank for your random select character. That's basically 11. The only thing is this didn't change the color, to that whitish color.
All right, so I would put him at the bottom. I'd say D.
You hate him?
I don't think we need him.
Well, where do we want to compromise then?
I guess B really is the compromise there, right?
Yeah,
it's right direct in the middle.
Right in the middle, yeah. So I guess I together we don't care. I care a lot. You care the opposite. But yeah, it's a very benign thing to add.
Yeah. At least 12 had an identity.
Yeah, 12 was a character.
Yeah.
Violent Ken. So thinking about how Ken already is in Street Fighter 6, which is a strong character, but our tier list showed not a top 5 character, but very strong, top 10. Then I would be. Let me think about this. I think Evil Ryu version of Ken in Street Fighter 6 might be a little overpowered.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of characters in Street Fighter 6 have the standard amount of health. And so I think if they do, when they add Akuma, or if they add, Evil Ryu or Kage or Oni or Violent Ken or any of these evil characters, I really think they need to have less health. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to balance them. They're either going to be weak, relatively, or just completely overpowered.
Yeah. And I would say that a character like this is a waste of space this early on in the game. If Violent Ken was to reinvigorate fans by season 5 or whatever, then I could see them putting that in for a little bit of fan service. And hey, no one's been playing Ken a lot lately because of nerfs and buffs or the time the game's been out. So here's some Violent Ken. Have some fun with that and make do. Because even Kage came out towards the end of the life of Street Fighter 5. And what about Evil Ryu in 4?
He was at the end as well.
He was at the end as well. Yeah. So
I think he came out with Ultra.
So where would you place this guy then?
So I guess I would not care too much, but I'd rather not see him. So I guess C tier.
C tier? All right. I'll go with that just because I could go either way also.
Sure.
Before we pick the next, we'll just do a quick edit here. I have to remove the people that
that we've already done,
so we don't get them again. So
yeah,
we
so
got
Violent Ken is done.
and Ibuki.
Yep. Yeah, I completely forgot.
11, right?
Yep. Yeah, so that was only 4.
That's it? Okay,
yep.
So we're good.
Yep.
All right, on to the next. Here we go. I love this picker wheel.
Yeah, does all the work for us. Shan.
All right, that's interesting.
So of all the characters, when Street Fighter V was going through its paces, I was, begging and praying and hoping Shan would be added to 5.
Yeah.
And because we didn't get Shan added to 5, I'm doubling down. I'm begging him for it to be in 6.
Okay.
He was not very strong in Third Strike or in Street Fighter 3 in general.
And he got hit with nerfs for Third Strike, right? He was okay and then declined.
Yeah, and I wasn't really playing the game back at the time, but that's what I've heard is that he got nerfed. From the second impact to Third Strike. So yeah, he got nerfed. He didn't get his justice, and so I'm gonna want to put him in S tier. I need to see Shan come back, I think a character archetype like his, which is basically like a lackluster Shoto, could really use mechanics like Drive Rush and Drive Impact
to make him relevant.
To make him scary.
Okay, cool. Oh, no scrolling. All right, I finally found Shan. And you say S tier?
That's how I would want to put him. Where do you think he should go?
I'm not a take it or leave it with him. I think because I don't have a whole lot of experience with Street Fighter Third Strike also, I wouldn't mind him being in the... if he was to be released, I wouldn't be oh, Shan, what a waste of spot. But I also wouldn't be yes, my new main. It would be oh, I'm glad they've added him. People have been asking him for a while. So I'd like to see what they do. So if you'd say S, would you settle on A?
Sure. Yeah, that sounds right. Because it sounds like from the way you were describing it that you would have said something like B and A is right in the middle.
Yeah. Cool. Not bad.
Yeah, so it seems like when we do put a character in S tier, we're both going to be hyped for
it. Yes. This is I need this character in my game right now.
Yoon. Ooh. So this one's tough because I think Yoon is an awesome character. But I think, by Capcom's choice and by Capcom's design, they want Yoon to be way overpowered. And so seeing Jamie need drinks to play the game, to put Yoon in and, not need drinks.
Yeah.
And, a historically strong character, it's just going to, delete Jamie from the game.
That's what I would say that 100%.
But, personally, I would like to see Yoon. So I'm gonna say A tier. In my opinion, for Yoon.
I'll go with that. I think that's fine. That similar to Shan, I wouldn't be disappointed. I wouldn't feel like I had found a new main, but I know a lot of people would be happy.
Yeah, and then also it'd be really interesting. It seems like a lot of level 2 supers in Street Fighter 6 are kind of like V triggers.
Yeah.
And so that would be his Ganadian, where he can do strikes into strikes, and they're doing multiple hits, and basically infinite combo until the meter's gone.
And that would be hype to see, especially if it was on counter hit or punish counter, to see the drive gauge deplete with that big combo and hit like that.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yang.
Right to it.
The picker wheel's nose.
Do you play Street Fighter picker wheel? Are you with us on that? Let me just.
So when I'm playing Street Fighter, this is in my head, and this tells me what attack to choose.
Yeah, right. Oh, I would need this.
It tells me what to do on wake up.
Right here. Here we go.
Yang. So Yang is a cool character. Historically worse than Yoon. I assume that's by design from Capcom. And so I personally think I would like to see Yang a little bit more than Yoon. I'd like to see Yang come back a little bit stronger than Yoon.
Okay.
If I had my choice.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna place Yang in S for me.
Ooh.
Big Yang fan.
Where is he?
Right in the middle.
Okay, thank you. S, huh? Okay. Yeah.
How do you feel about Yang?
I don't really have a big opinion on him. But
and that's fair because no one saw him play.
yeah, that's true. And like, for me, he would probably be in A tier. Actually, if this is your S tier, oh, that was a compromise though, right? For Urian, because Urian was at the top of my list of what I wanted.
Yeah, I think I had Urian in like C tier. Okay, and so the A was the compromise.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, what are the differences between Yang and Yun? For those that don't know.
So that's a good question. Let me think about that for a second. So, I didn't play much Third Strike, and so I assumed that they were really similar from Third Strike to Street Fighter 4. And in Street Fighter 4, so Yoon has like the palm strike or like the thrust punch or whatever it's called.
Yeah, yep.
And so Yang had slashes, and so Yang could do rekkas basically.
Oh, okay.
And what was really cool is he could do EX rekkas, which was like 5 hits, but you had to do them like really, really fast. So like as a player on your fight stick or your pad, you're basically mashing the input fast, and if you mess it up, you drop your rekka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Yang's basically like a rekka Yoon. I know Yoon had a command grab. I think Yang also had a command grab. And the other big difference was Yoon's DP went like kind of straight up, kind of like a regular DP, and Yang's like the light version of the DP went up, and the medium and heavy was like a roll into a DP. So you got like horizontal range.
Oh, okay.
Which made it mostly a combo ender. Like you could use the light version as an anti-air, and then you could do like heavy punch into heavy DP, I think, as like a 2-hit combo for more corner carry.
Interesting. Yeah, Third Strike. I've probably played more Third Strike than 4.
Wow.
But that's still not a lot, just because like I have that anniversary collection, so I was like, oh, everyone loves Third Strike, let me get down with some Third Strike. And some of the people in the scene like Rami and Boltazo, Tom, CG Tom and stuff, they really love that game. So when they're here, they definitely are interested in playing that.
Yeah, I think we're doing Street Fighter 4 as the
for Tomato?
Tomato's Retro Garden coming up. And so they asked if I'd play Street Fighter 4. I say absolutely.
No kidding.
Look out for my evil Ryu.
Yeah, and that's going to be the first time you're in another bracket besides Street Fighter 6, right? In the same night?
That is true.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, when Street Fighter 5 for Retro.
So before 6 came in, we had the one last hurrah. It was the only week that we had ran Street Fighter 5.
Nice.
Sakura. Okay, another fan favorite.
Yep. So Sakura, I think she was originally a character from a Capcom game that wasn't Street Fighter, and then got brought into Street Fighter for CVS 2, and then Street Fighter 4, and then Street Fighter 5.
Is she? She's not in the. She's in the Alpha series.
Oh, she is in the Alpha series. You're right.
Yeah.
I almost forget about the Alpha series sometimes. I didn't play a lot of them.
I love the Alpha series. I find that to be very, very fun.
So I didn't play a lot of the Alpha series, but of the 3 games, I prefer Alpha 2.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Get out of here with Alpha 3. I don't need that. I don't like the aesthetic of it, the character select screen, everything else. But yeah, 2 is the way to go. Where is your girl here?
Right here.
Damn, you're so fast with that.
So Sakura, I played her a little bit in Street Fighter 4, and I found her kind of hard to use. I think she had some one-frame links if you wanted like her optimal combos.
Okay.
But she was really, really cool. And just in general, I had like such a tough character crisis in Street Fighter 4 because there were so many characters in the game, especially by the time I started playing. It was like DLC had already been released and stuff. And none of the characters was like, I felt like was my main.
Home.
So I played like 10 different characters, Sakura being one of them. And then in Street Fighter 5, like I had my main, I had some side characters, and so I picked up Sakura for fun and had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I would love to see Sakura come back. I'd probably put her A tier.
Yeah, I that's straight up. I like that. Because like if she popped in for me, I wouldn't be upset either. And I did when Sakura came out for Street Fighter 5. I remember that being a big deal. A lot of fans really wanted her. Who's the player that's known for being a Sakura main from California? Myers? Alex Myers?
Yes, yeah, because I think he was playing Sakura towards the end of Street Fighter 5, and then when Street Fighter 6 came out, went back to Chun.
Yeah. So, like, I just associate him with that character, honestly, and...
I associate Sakura with Chris G, because he was, like, the Sakura main in Street Fighter 4.
Oh, okay.
Because she wasn't considered top tier, and so all the pro players were playing other characters, and Chris G would show up and make, like, a top 8 versus international competition with Sakura.
Wow.
Characters.
Okay, cool.
And the thing with Chris G that I thought was really interesting is I was saying Sakura had one frame links, And in Street Fighter 4, there was a method called plinking that would essentially, if you did it right, turn your 1-frame links into 2-frame links.
Okay.
And so it made them a little bit more doable, a little bit easier, especially for like tournament combos and stuff. Chris G would do the 1-frame links without plinking.
Oh.
He just refused, like, I don't know if he didn't know how or if he just refused to learn or whatever, but he just didn't plink and he just had really good timing and hit the 1-frame links consistently enough.
What a beast. Chris G. All right. We took her off of the... Oh, I'm scrolling. Don't scroll, Ryan. There we go.
Well, I say let's spin the wheel, and if we get Sakura again, we'll know it.
Okay, that's true, yeah.
Alex. So Alex, originally from Street Fighter 3, skipped Street Fighter 4 and came back in Street Fighter 5. I believe he was like the protagonist of Street Fighter 3, even though I'm sure a lot of people didn't kind of realize it.
Yeah.
And then in Street Fighter 5, like I feel like people liked Alex as like as a character, like I'm trying to think of how to say this, like not his utility, but like as a character, everyone thought he was cool.
Yeah. He's got a cool aesthetic, right?
Yeah, but he sucked. He sucked the whole time. He got buffed every season and he still sucked.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind seeing Alex come back in Street Fighter 6. I think, moves like his lair are really cool and really interesting. So like, giving Alex Drive Rush and, essentially in Street Fighter 5, his issue was Oki. He didn't get good Oki. So if he can just Drive Rush for Oki, problem solved.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put Alex pretty high. I'm going to go ahead and say A tier.
Okay. Like Alex was like number 2 on my list of what I would really want.
Let's put him in it. S tier rather.
Especially since we have Ryu, our main protagonist from the beginning. We have Luke, what is now the new protagonist going forward. So I thought that he would... Like, he was almost the Ryu replacement, so I feel like he needs to be in the cast also. It's
interesting that you say that. So, like, Ryu was clearly the protagonist in Street Fighter 2, and then Alex was the protagonist in Street Fighter 3. Nikali, you could argue, is the protagonist in Street Fighter 5, right? Or is he the antagonist?
I was going to say, or is he the antagonist? Because he's always going after Ryu, right? And
but he's like the cool new character. He's like the...
He is a cool new character.
Like Luke is kind of like the spokesman for 6. I would say Nikali's the spokesman for 5.
Especially since he has the V's on his face for 5. I kind of thought like he should have almost been on the cover rather than Ryu.
He should have been, really.
He should have been, yeah.
But I understand why they didn't, is because nobody knows who Nikali is until they play Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
And you want someone on the cover that you can sell. And so... I think one of the reasons why they were able to put Luke on the cover of 6 is because they introduced Luke in 5, made him way overpowered, so every Street Fighter fan knew and hated Luke.
Even if you were just getting into 5 in preparation for 6, if you look at any tournament footage, you're like, okay, 60% of the players are using Luke because he's so strong.
Right. So I guess the question really quick is, who was the character like that for Street Fighter 4?
Well, so I was doing some research on the timeline, right? Yeah. And Street Fighter 4 actually in the timeline takes place right after Street Fighter 2. So does it still fall on Ryu?
I mean, without thinking too hard, I think Ryu is still the poster child for Street Fighter 4, because besides like character like Juri, I can't think of like a newcomer character that really like promoted the game. But I guess if it was to be a character, maybe Juri.
Maybe Juri, yeah. The new face. Juri is the Nikali of Street Fighter 4?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, so you said Alex where? S?
S.
Yeah, let's go.
And maybe in this game he'll actually be S tier.
I hope so. Do you remember when they switched his legs in Street Fighter 5?
No.
So his stance, his knees were pointing towards the opponent.
Yep.
Right? And then I think it was he came out in season 2, right?
He came out season 1.
Season 1?
I believe, if my memory serves correctly, he was the first DLC character.
Okay.
I think it was Alex then Guile.
And we were waiting for him for a while, right? They didn't show like a teaser trailer until he was like right about to come out.
Yep.
And then there's a patch that comes out and they put his legs like this. His knees are now backwards while he does his pose. And that blew my mind as to why would they do that? It looked so wrong. So
I never knew they changed it. And so just like playing the game and seeing him, I always used to say, why do his legs look like they're on backwards?
Yeah, that's so funny. And his wind pose, when it looks like he's going to be doing a backflip and it's just these leg lunges and he never does anything.
Yeah. But I think it makes sense. Well, he can do a backflip.
Yeah. I want to see it. Exactly.
For a second, I was going to be like, he's too big and strong to do a backflip, but he does like a forward flip when he grabs you by the head. Like, G.
Ooh, yes.
So G, when G first came out, he released at the same time as Sagat, which is not super rare, but it's uncommon in Street Fighter for 2 DLC characters to get released at the same time. And because players were so excited for Sagat, and because G was like so unique, I think, in my opinion, day one, everyone thought that G sucked.
Yeah.
And everybody was excited to try Sagat. And so because you get both DLC characters at the same time, for like the first 2 weeks, everyone's playing Sagat and no one's really touching G. And I think it was really like Smug who put G on the map.
Yeah.
And then, you know, not that many pro players ended up going with G, because I think he's kind of like a slot machine character, like roulette, like high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
But you'd see G in ranked all the time, and it was scary because, you know, 12 frame command grab into 50%. And you gotta guess.
Those big, long limbs that he had.
Yeah, then really nice pokes, that crouch medium kick, which starting to remind me of Guile's crouch medium kick in Street Fighter 6.
That's true. And then, like, he had those, like the forward dash with the fist, and he had it with the low also, so he could kind of gain ground.
Yep, and he was not a charge character, so he's having, like, you know, special moves similar to Balrog's, like dash straight and dash low without having to charge.
I thought he was a super cool concept. I loved the speech that he could give. I thought it was cool that his gold continental tattoos moved around his body. His everything about him was just really, really cool. His walk animations were so stunning for the time, because a lot of people were saying Street Fighter V didn't have the same personality as other games. And then when he showed up, they were like, oh no, something's changed. I think they're actually putting the love into it. So he's high on the list for me.
Yeah, and I would put him high on the list too. The only thing I really didn't like about G in 5 was that he was just not balanced. It was like I said, like, he wasn't too strong and he wasn't a weak character. It was just like, he's only strong if you take lots and lots of risks. And so, like, what pro player is going to
want to do that?
You know, put their career, you know, their tournament success on the line of guessing. But yeah, for players who played from home online,
why not, right? Yeah. Especially with, also like a momentum style character, right?
Yeah, very, very snowball. Yeah, especially with the level up system.
Yeah. So if he's getting knocked down constantly, he's losing those and maybe not getting the opportunity to get those buffs. But when he has them all and he can, you know, keep his feet grounded.
Right. And then the whole idea that, like, in Street Fighter V, you get a V trigger every round, basically. And so every round he gets to pop V trigger and you have to guess for game.
Yeah. I also thought his aura was really cool, and he can make it a fireball and all that. I'd love to see him.
Yeah, so I was going to go ahead and say either A tier or B tier.
Okay, we'll go with A for now then.
Sure.
Because maybe at the end we might refine like we've done in the past anyway, too.
Yeah, we can make a few tweaks, especially when we see the characters are, like, relative to each other.
Yeah.
Kagi, my boy. Instant S tier.
Instant S tier.
Kagi was one of my mains in Street Fighter V. He wasn't the strongest character, but he could hold his own. I really liked some of his normals, like a standing medium punch, such a good normal. And like the buffs they gave him towards the end, like, they were not huge buffs, but for players who were using Kage like myself, it was huge. Like being able to do jab, EX Tatsu, dash up, heavy DP for, you know, corner carry and Oki was so huge. And things like his stand medium punch, like I was saying, like, it's a good button you can just throw it as a poke. And if you throw it out from far away, you can buffer it into a special move. And so before the final patch, he could only combo stand medium punch into medium Tatsu. And then the last patch, he can combo into heavy Tatsu. So to throw a stand medium punch, buffer into heavy Tatsu, and if it hits, then you get the heavy uppercut for Oki. Like, it was amazing.
What about his mobility? How, like, you know, he had the air, like, what, demon dash, basically, right? For, like, side-to-side mix-ups?
Yeah, so that was his V-Trigger 1, I believe. And so I didn't use that V-Trigger. I used V-Trigger 2, which was the slam.
Okay.
Which was really good to, like, you could just, like, react to a fireball from full screen, or you could use it as, like, a combo ender, because it was a hard knockdown and gave you Oki.
Oh, okay.
So it was really scary. And then the thing I liked about Kage the most, the number one thing I love about Kage, is you can combo into Raging Demon. It's so sick.
Yeah. Okay.
So instant S tier for me. What do you think about Kage?
So he definitely piqued my interest in 5 because I love Akuma so much and I wanted to see how different he played. And since I didn't have a whole lot of time in Street Fighter 4, seeing those, what's that leg move that?
Oh, that axe kick.
The axe kick. So I just thought that was super cool. And anytime I faced someone who was playing Kage, there was a level of respect there. Like, I know you can blow me up really, really quickly and easily. And if you've put the time into this character, yikes. And even when we would play online for Street Fighter 5, when you picked Kage one day, I was like, for real? Really? Because, you see, like, kind of like Alex Myers, right? You just see a person and you identify their main character. And for me, that was just Guile with you all day. Even, like, I remember seeing Colleen, but that was after the fact. So then when I seen that you were playing Kage and at such a high level.
Yeah. Like, if I could say I had 3 mains in 5, it was Guile, Colleen, and Kage. Like, they were the top 3 for me for sure.
So you'd put him where again?
I would have put him S.
S? Yeah, I don't see why not. S. Not likely we'll get him soon because of Akuma, right? But that's not what we're doing here. We're covering just a basic wish list.
Right, and this could apply, from now until the end of Street Fighter 6 unless our opinions change.
That's true. Okay, cool. Kage. Even I was thinking, like, what character's going to change things up, change the meta?
That's one.
There you go.
The real nose.
Yeah.
Laura would be so broken because, like, one of the things in 5 was, like, on some of her knockdowns, she had Godoki, and on other knockdowns, she didn't. But she was just always so scary, and like she had her V-skill dash.
Mm-hmm.
So to have like a slow walk speed like she had in 5, regular dash, and then command dash and drive rush.
That would be silly.
I mean, she's she would be one of the best grapplers.
Yeah.
Where in 5, even though she had a command throw, you almost didn't treat her like a grappler because her normals were so good and her special moves were safe.
Mm-hmm. And just setting up that projectile to give her the room to get in and to make moves and to make people guess. I loved Laura. I think when, the end of season 1, I saw how strong she was and I really wanted to pick her up. And I know Idom's having a hard time with character identity in this game. He's only playing JP now because he's like, well, screw it, I'll just pick a top tier. But I would like to see him have that. Yeah, and I think, if there's one thing about Laura from Street Fighter 5 that I would just say, this is the one thing I couldn't stand, it was that light elbow was safe on block. Yeah, that wouldn't fly in the new game. There's no way. Well, in the new game, a lot of stuff is safe on block. With meter, though, no? No, like in Street Fighter 6, there's lots of special moves. Like, if you block it, you're -3. Oh, okay. So you'd put her where then? That's a good question. I guess I don't really want to see her back. I'll go ahead and say C. What do you think? And I'm only just a little more enthusiastic to see her again, but I don't think it's likely. So B. Would you settle on B for now? Sure. Cool. Yeah, but if she does come back, I think she's going to be strong, and I think Idom's going to be out of control. Yeah. Even if she's weak, Idom piloting her makes her strong. Absolutely. Fong. So Fong's an interesting character because in Street Fighter 5, he was one of the release characters, and he was cool and interesting, but he was regarded as not a strong character. And then as the seasons went on, Fong mains, similar to Dawson mains, never gave up and kept putting in work. So after 5 or 6 years of playing with this character, they kind of figured it out and played hyper offense and just, kept pressing buttons, and it worked. And so Fong at the end of 5 was actually a force to be reckoned with, especially if you were a Fong main from the start. Yep. So Fong is very, very similar to Aki. Yeah. What could he offer that she doesn't already offer, if not better? I mean, I think it's just a different flavor. Kind of like you have Ryu and Ken, you have Yun and Yang, you have Aki and Fong. Okay. I wouldn't hate to see Fong. I guess I'll place him B. What do you think? B? Ooh. Yeah, he's not on my radar at all. If we never see him again, I could care less. So where do you think? Maybe drop him in C? C, yeah, we'll put him in C. And so far, we haven't run into any Ds. There's one in my mind that's definitely going in D. Oh, okay. Hear that picker wheel? Yeah. Watch it be the next one. Okay.
Don't worry, this isn't it.
Okay, Armika. Now, she was part of the most recent leak list for Season 2 DLC.
Yeah, the fake leak, by the way.
Fake leak, yeah, which ended up coming out not to be real.
So I think Armika with Dry Rush would be really scary. So like in Street Fighter V, her stand medium punch was like -1 or -2 on block, but they had such little blocks done, and it was such like a stubby normal that she basically just treated it like it was plus, because a lot of times if you blocked it and hit jab, you just get counter hit.
Okay.
And so I think a character like Armika being able to like Dry Rush into that stand medium punch, and then it's plus, and she has a command throw. And she can also go for the hard read of like, or not even the hard read. She could probably, in Street Fighter 6, if you're plus and you go for a regular throw, if they neutral jump, they can still DP you. So I'm imagining she could do like drive rush, stand medium punch, regular throw, and if you neutral jump, she could do the wingless airplane and grab you out of the air. So that's really scary. That would make her like an S tier grappler.
I think if she was to come out into the game, she would completely erase Manon and completely erase Lily. Like, there would be no need to play these characters, because anything that they're trying to do, I think she would just do so much better.
I agree with that. And then the only grappler that she really doesn't delete is Zangief, because Zangief is his own archetype.
And just a powerhouse, right?
Right, but I just mean, like, you can talk about, like, a zoner character or, like, a long-range poke character. It's like, that's all fine and good. Dalsim is his own archetype. Just like you can talk about grapplers all day long, but Zangief is his own archetype. He's like, no, there's grapplers and there's Zangief, there's zoner pokers and there's Dalsim. And so I feel like, yeah, Armika would be the best grappler in Street Fighter 6. Obviously doesn't touch Zangief as far as what his game plan is and what he's trying to do. So even though I'm not a fan of grapplers, I think it would be like good for Street Fighter 6 to have like one grappler that's better than the rest. So I'm gonna go ahead and say A tier for me.
I'll go with that. I feel like I missed out on an opportunity to get to play her in 5 also.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, because seeing El Chicote and a few other players, what they did with her was just like menacing. Such great offense with the mix-up of the command grab, anti-air tools, forward. She has like a Sobot kick almost, right?
Yeah, she does have a Sobot.
You know what I mean? So I think she'd be really, really cool.
Did you see Knuckle-Doo play her?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, Knuckle-Doo. How could I forget? Of course, yeah.
That was, like, amazing. To see a player who is really not a grappler main use a grappler and just be so solid and so scary.
Fudo, too.
Yeah,
dude.
Fudo made sense, but yeah.
That leg grab spinner that she does, that did so much damage.
Especially with the mic drop power-up.
Oh,
that was what her V-skill did.
That's true. Yeah. There would be times where you're like, oh, there's no way that they're dead. And she'd do that command grab.
It was like, because with her mic drop V-skill, it was like the first like microphone noise thing was like pretty quick. So most players would get that first one and drop it right away and then just like back up or whatever. And so if she did that and then went for an EX command grab, I forget the exact number, but it was probably close to 30%.
Jesus. All right, I like that one. Picker Wheel's hooking us up right now.
Yeah. Keeping us on track.
Yeah.
Hakan.
Okay.
So Hakan was only in Street Fighter 4.
Yep.
And he was, in my opinion, when he was not oiled up, he was low tier. You're going to get in trouble.
I know. It was on accident, I swear.
So when he was not oiled up, I would say he was considered low tier. When he was oiled up, he was S tier. He was so good. Because he was like always moving, so like he would do like jab, jab, jab. In between the jabs, the oil was like moving him toward you. It was so menacing.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't have any experience with him because I never played as him. I never played anyone that played him. The only time I seen him played was Infiltration.
Yeah. And Infiltration did it as like a ironic counter pick where it was like, oh, nobody knows this matchup because nobody plays Hakan, and he was just like one of the best players. So. So I think Hakan is really cool. I think Hakan's oil up would be similar to like Jamie's drinks.
Yeah. In
that, like in Street Fighter 4, it was like you either oiled up or you're not, and depending on the level of oil up special move you did, it was like, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was like the light oil up special move had the fastest animation and the oil lasted for the shortest amount of time.
Makes sense.
So the heavy oil up had the longer animation and lasted longer, and then the EX I think was somewhere in between. Like it was probably closer to the medium startup and then like closer to the heavy
For
duration.
how long? Yeah.
But I think that the oil up would be really cool in Street Fighter 6. You know, there's a lot of characters who have stuff like that, like Ryu with the Denjin and Jamie with the drinks. So I think he'd be right at home in Street Fighter 6.
Where would you place him on here?
So as far as how badly I'd want to see him, I can't put him in S because I don't really care about the character that much.
Yeah.
But, you know, similar to Armika, I just think it would be really cool and kind of healthy to see him come back. So I'm going to put him A. What do you think?
It's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. Actually, if he came out, I'd probably play him for a day or two just to figure him out and then be like,
So, so I guess that's really up to you. Do you think he should be A or B or in this tier list? And we can always change him later.
Yeah, I'll put him in B for now, also
Sure.
just to kind of fatten up this line here.
In
And
the middle section.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So many characters in this universe.
I know, right? Nash. So Season 1 Nash from Street Fighter V was a menace. Especially because the game had 8 frames of delay.
Yeah.
So everything he did felt like a mix-up. And then, you know, they nerfed Nash heavily. They reduced the input delay from 8 frames to like 5 frames. And a lot stronger characters got released. DPs got nerfed. So like Season 1 of Street Fighter V, DPs were full invincible, and then they changed it in I think Season 2 so that only OD DPs were invincible.
Yeah.
And it kind of changed the meta where it was like in Season 1 of Street Fighter V, like, you know, basically everyone's a Street Fighter 4 player coming into it, and they're used to using their DPs, and DPs are invincible at that point in Street Fighter V. So people are blocking DPs and crush countering and getting big damage. And Nash was great at that. And so not having a DP in Season 1 was almost good because it made it so like no matter how bad you mess up as a player, at least they're not blocking your DP and getting a free crush counter.
That's true.
So Nash was much stronger in Season 1. And then basically from Season 2 on, Nash was considered the bottom of the barrel worst character in the game. And you really only see Bon-Chan do anything with him. And that's really just Bon-Chan playing with both hands tied behind his back.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like Nash deserves justice. I think he needs to come back. He needs to be strong. He needs to stay strong and relevant through the whole rest of Street Fighter 6.
Ooh.
So I'm going to go ahead and say S tier for Nash for me.
Ooh, okay.
What about you?
I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on that because I would, for story lore, I would love to see him come back. I think it's great that he is Guile-esque, but with, in 5 he had motion inputs, but in the Alpha series, he was a charge character. He was the Guile replacement, you know?
Yep.
So I would like to see that. And, like you said, I would like to see him strong. I know there's a lot of fans that love this character.
Yeah.
And I just want fan service. I want people to be happy and to see their main inside the game and doing well. So I'm going to match you with S on that. I agree.
Let's go, Nash.
I like that. Actually, yeah, I think Yang is out of this so far. I think Yang is like the lowest for me.
Okay.
But and I'm staring at your boy over here. You know, I'm looking at I might move you up later on, but you stay there for now, sweetheart.
After I'm gone.
Yeah.
before the video gets
behind the scene footage.
You just crop it.
That's all it is. Yeah.
Balrog, the bane of my existence.
Yeah, unless you were a Balrog main, he was the bane of your existence.
I feel like me in particular, like, no disrespect to any of the Balrog mains I played in Street Fighter V, but God, that character just drove me insane. I lost to every Balrog I played. Seriously, like, if we played Street Fighter V right now and you picked Balrog, you'd have like a 75% chance of beating me, and I'm not joking.
Well, I know what we're doing after this then.
No, seriously, that character just... I understand exactly how he works. I know like all his frame data. I know where his stuff is real. I know where it's fake. It's just so hard to react to. It's so hard to deal with.
Yeah. And he was strong. Big damage.
Big damage.
He had a great way, because he was a charge character. Also, I feel like charge characters usually like defensively offensive or can play that way.
Yep.
And I thought he was really good at that. And then flipping the script on you, before you know it, like you said, unreactable. He's in your face. He's mixing you up. The tick grab scenarios were insane with him.
Yeah, he could tick throw with crouch medium punch.
Mm-hmm.
I'm upset.
Triggered. Just
Is there an F tier on this tier list?
Oh, so he's your D?
He's the he's one of them.
Okay. I didn't really care to see him come back in this game because he was so explosive in 5.
Yep.
And I think the community, unless you're a Balrog main, you might disagree, but I think like we need a break
from Balrog.
We need to wash him off of us for a while. And I was just more excited for other characters than to see him again. Even we knew Ed was coming out. So I was like, well, the likelihood of him showing up now is a little less in this moment of the game. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd go D tier, but I want to put him there because no one else is there right now.
Yeah.
And if we decide to show him a sliver of love later, we can move him up. But
yeah, and similar to the other characters we're talking about, it's like his movement is so good. He's a charge character. Like his V skill 1 gave him so much more mobility in Street Fighter 5 to give him dash, drive rush. No thanks.
No thanks. Yeah, no. We're all scarred over here.
Yeah,
scarred and scared.
Or even worse, like a dash straight and then parry.
Oh yeah, perfect parry. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, because like once you perfect parry in 6, your damage output is low, but you can get good corner carry. So if Balrog can perfect parry you and do like a crouch heavy punch into heavy dash straight, you're in the corner.
You're in the corner now, fighting for your life.
Seth. So Seth, in my mind, is really 2 different characters completely, because Seth came out in Street Fighter 4, and he was really cool. He had like everybody's moves. He had low health and relatively low damage output. He was basically like a broken character, and the only way to balance him at all was to give him low health and low damage output. And so it's like, yeah, he can do everything. And so if you play perfect and choose correct every time, he's broken. But you can only get hit like once or twice a round. And also his stun value is lower, so it's easy to stun him.
Okay.
So his health and his stun were low. His damage output was low. And so, yeah, like you basically had to play perfect to win with this character. And Punko was the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that was great with Seth. And then Seth in Street Fighter 5, I think was a much more balanced and well-designed character, where it was basically like a Hyper Shoto. Basically like a larger volume character of Akuma. Because Akuma's always been kind of short and stubby, but he's fast and hits hard. And so Seth was like, okay, I hit medium hard. The difference between Seth and Akuma was like Seth had the reach. He had the long crouch medium kick. He could, forward heavy punch and poke from like half screen. So I think Seth from 5 was really cool. I think Seth from 4 is just not going to be like good for modern fighting games and competitive games. So if we could get like a Street Fighter 5 version of Seth, or even like Seth but completely reimagined for 6, kind of like he was so different from 4 to 5, then I would love to see Seth.
So where would you put him on the list then?
A.
Yeah.
Assuming they don't bring back the Street Fighter 4 version. If they bring back the Street Fighter 4 version, no, C or D. Just because it's not a fair, like it's not a well-balanced character. He's just a completely broken, unfair thing. It's just you don't expect many players, especially pro players, to put their tournament results on the line with a character that's so hit or miss.
Yeah. I always had a hard time fighting Seth because despite his low health and things like that, I just thought that because he had so many moves of the rest of the cast, he was difficult to fight, difficult to get in on, and just maybe felt strong. And then what was one of his V triggers where he had the globe and he could move that?
Oh, the sphere thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was his V trigger 2, I believe. And so the way that one worked is like you basically, so the best way to do it is on block, actually. So you would do a certain move on block, and then you would pop your V trigger, and then you could press I'm trying to think. You press a normal and a direction, and it moves the ball in that direction.
Okay.
And so I just always used a light punch just because it's the button right there. And so like I forget the exact steps in my head, but like there was instances where like you can make him block the orb, and then you can do like I'm forgetting the exact inputs, but you can move the orb like 2 times and then like overhead. And because you were in block stun from the orb, it was a true overhead, meaning like you couldn't hold up and flip out or anything.
Okay.
So same thing, it was like an overhead low mix up. And then if they blocked it correctly, the orb was still there. So you can move the orb, I forget, like up, down, and you get one more mix up.
Oh, Jesus.
So it was just, it was 2 mix ups in a row that you got for free. And if either of them hit, it led to a huge combo into the corner, stuns high.
Yeah.
Very scary.
So you put them where?
I said A tier.
You said A, but if it was Street Fighter 4 Seth, you would go
low, like C or D.
C or D. So I'll meet you at B.
That's fair, right in the middle. I'm fine with that. And also because Seth was so different from 4 to 5, if they do put him in 6, we have no idea what kind of Seth to expect.
That's true.
B tier right in the middle seems right to me.
Yeah, they could give him like a separate meter or something too that had to do with like, some of his robotics maybe, or that could be interesting.
Or just change which moves he has. Because like in Street Fighter 4, he had Sonic Boom, and then in Street Fighter 5, he didn't.
Yeah. So I guess like more of what I've seen was from Street Fighter 4 and not so much 5. Because when did he come out when did they come out in 5?
It was later.
It was towards the end,
I forget
right?
which season exactly, but it was later in the lifespan of 5. THawk. So of the very few Street Fighter 2 characters that we didn't get at release in Street Fighter 6, I really wanted to see THawk. And I was much less of a fan of Lily, who's basically the new THawk.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of ignoring Lily for a moment, we don't have THawk. I think we should have THawk, and I think Grappler mains would appreciate having a secondary choice besides just Zangief right now.
Yeah.
Because Manon's really not a choice. Like, not only is she considered weak, but because her tools don't really give her opportunities to go for command grabs, it's like she's not a grappler. She has these weird pokes that don't really lead to much. Mm-hmm. And she also happens to have a command grab.
Yeah.
Like a very confusing character design.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that most grapplers don't see her as a grappler. And so most grapplers are just playing Zangief, and I think THawk would be like a good, healthy alternative.
Mm-hmm. Especially since kind of, like what we see from Lee, he's got great ways of getting in. And that's usually the grappler archetype downfall is how do I get in, the struggle to do so.
Right.
Yeah, and so it's THawk and Feilong, right? That are not in this game because they were the last bit of the new challengers, right?
Yeah, so in Street Fighter 2, you had 8 characters plus the 4 Shadowloo, and then 4 more new challengers. Mm-hmm. Those 4 new challengers was Cammy, Feilong, THawk, and DJ.
Okay, yeah.
And so we have Cammy, DJ. We didn't get THawk, Feilong.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we should have THawk. I'm not like a THawk main or a grappler main.
Yeah.
So I can't say I'd want him in S. I don't want him that bad. But similar to Armika, it's like, I think it would be healthy for the game. I think it's good for a lot of the players who are not finding their main in 6 yet. So I'm going to go ahead and say A tier for THawk.
A tier? Okay. A or B for me.
Yeah, I'm fine with whatever you...
Because he's like kind of middle of the road, and I guess if he came into the game, like I have no interest in playing Lily, but if he came into the game and I do mess around with grapplers here and there, I would put more time into him than Lily also. All right, how about right here just for now?
Sure.
Because like that's like medium interest, right? So
yeah.
The selfless decision right here to be like, I want him in the game just so other people can have him.
Well, that and I like beating up on THawk.
All right, Makoto.
Makoto is so cool. Makoto was in Street Fighter 3. She came back in Street Fighter 4. Thank God she did not come back in Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
She was broken.
I was kind of hoping, because I know the community really likes her, and she's so cool.
She is really cool. The thing I think the only reason people didn't like her was from Street Fighter 4, the command grab into Ultra 1.
Yeah.
Just doing like 50% off of one guess. And so if they give her mechanics like that again, dry rush into button and command grab into super... No, assuming that level 3 super is basically her Ultra 1.
Yeah.
So to do that off a guess, God, that's going to be salt inducing.
But like, for some of those grappler style archetypes, I think if out of anyone that's not like you said, Zangief's in a grappler league of his own compared to the other people that are trying to do what he does, I think Makoto and Armika are right up there for the grappler mains to have something that's more than viable.
Yeah. It's like their command grabs are not as good as an SPD, but they also have an easier time getting into position to go for their command grab.
Which is a worthy sacrifice, in my opinion.
Yeah, and so similar like what you were just saying, like, in my mind, she's a very similar character to Armika, and I'll put her right next to Armika in A tier. Okay. What do you think?
She was on my list for, like, I would love to see them come back, and I would mess around with them only because I know that they are so strong. So, would you be okay with this for now?
Sure.
I think that would be kind of cool, and I think that mixes this up a lot.
Yep.
And then, if we want to move her later. But, I had my eye on her for a bit.
Yeah, especially because she wasn't in 5. I feel like we're overdue.
Well, yeah, we're missing her. Yeah.
Well, we just had Armika. Like, we're fine without her.
Yeah. You know what? If I had to take that coin flip the choice of Makoto or Armika, I would go with Makoto because, we had Armika so recently.
Yeah, same here.
Oh,
the internet.
Glitching.
Rolento. So Rolento came out as DLC in Street Fighter 4, and he was one of those characters, like, in the right hands, he felt so strong, but, like, if you weren't a Rolento main or, like, you didn't, like, really get how he played, it was like he felt, like, not functional.
Yeah.
And then, you go into ranked and you run into a good Rolento and you just got, like, perfected. So I think if he comes back, he would be much more balanced. Probably a little bit easier to use just because in general that's how fighting games are going these days. A lot of characters that came back in 5 from 4 were like a simplified version of themselves. So I think Rolento would not be as evil as he was in Street Fighter 4.
Very odd play style, right?
Yeah, very, very hit and run. Very like, I'm trying to frustrate you as a player. I'm basically not trying to play Street Fighter, which is why Nemo made him.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense.
And so one of the issues with Rolento in Street Fighter 4 was the red focus with him was very, very strong. And so now that red focus is gone, I mean, it's kind of replaced by drive impact, but it's more fair this time around. So yeah, I think he would be good and balanced, and I don't think people would hate to see him come back. But again, because I'm not a Rolento main and I probably wouldn't play him very much. Yeah. I can't say S tier, so I'd go ahead and say A tier.
A tier. Okay.
What are your thoughts?
So I don't really have much experience with him because I wasn't playing a lot of Street Fighter 4 at the time. Like the only thing I've seen is probably more so with like LTG playing Rolento. I know he had a Rolento, back in the day. What other Capcom game is he from? He's from.
I don't know where he's from originally. He may have been. Was he in the Alpha series? I don't know.
Oh,
I know he was
the Alpha series.
Yeah, because I know he was in CVS 2, but I know a lot of the Capcom characters in CVS 2 that I'm not familiar with came from Alpha, which I didn't play very much.
And then I think he's in the side-scrolling beat-em-up game, right? He's one of the bosses for is that which? Drawing a blank here. Is it? I get Final Fight and Fatal Fury confused. I think it's Final Fight, right? Because Fatal Fury is SNK.
I don't know the difference.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. And then, but I do know Rolento was in Capcom versus Tekken.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of like the shared models from 4 and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So you say you would put him where?
A tier.
A tier? All right, I'll agree with that. She could shake things up, and like he could be retooled to be slightly different, a little play style. So I'd be interested into seeing what Capcom did with him, probably more so than some of these down here. So
right, and also if he came back, I know Nemo would play him, and I want to see that.
Yeah. Oh, if Nemo had the choice between Rolento and Yuri, who gets that?
That's a question for Nemo. Let's ask him on Twitter.
Who do you think he would play as? Leave a comment down below.
Rose.
Okay.
So Rose was originally, I think she was an alpha character, and then they brought her into Street Fighter 4.
Correct.
And then she came back in Street Fighter 5 very, very late in the game's life. And she was a really interesting character at the end of 5 because the day she came out, everyone wrote her off as she sucked. And then, you know, the Rose mains who really love Rose put work into her. And I feel like by the end of 5, she was like a viable character. She wasn't S tier, but she was good. And I think Rose could actually do pretty well with the Street Fighter 6's mechanics, like the drive impact and the drive rush and all that, and the perfect parry for that matter. Yeah, because she has a fireball. She has long range pokes with her scarf. Yeah. Again, as a player who doesn't really like Rose, and like I wouldn't play Rose. So if she came out, I'd be happy for everybody else, but it wouldn't really be for me. I couldn't say S tier, so I'm gonna go ahead and say A again. Good for everyone but me.
Okay. So she was actually at the top of she was in my wish list at the very bottom. I thought she was a good way to shake it up because I had picked predominantly male characters. I know she's a fan favorite. She has a really, really solid game plan, and her part in the overall story, you know, which you may or may not care about, I think has a lot to do or should be relevant in Street Fighter 6 because she's that time traveler and she can, you know, she was warning Ed about certain things in 5 and I like the role that she plays with that. So I would love to see what she could bring to 6. So you said A?
Yeah.
I'm going to put her in S for now.
Sure.
Because I think it would be cool just to fill this up. And yeah, I think I would like to see her a little bit more than some of these because like I don't know, she's just so interesting. And coming back from the Alpha series, she's kind of a classic also. Yeah,
and I'm fine with this too because I think, you know, besides the two of us, I think a lot of Street Fighter fans, there's a lot of Street Fighter fans that love Rose much more so than like Rolento or G.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that she's on a higher tier.
We're killing it.
Not doing bad on time either.
Yeah, not too bad. If you're still watching, thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying the content.
Evil Ryu. I'm torn on this because I think Evil Ryu is so cool, but do I want to see him back? I don't know.
I think Evil Ryu as a story arc is done and complete where we are at with Ryu currently, and I think the creation of Kage is it's the same thing, different smell, basically, you know.
Yeah, and I would say as being a Kage main, I think, you know, when Kage came out, they could have named him Evil Ryu, and then I would just say I love this version of Evil Ryu so much more than the Street Fighter 4 version, who I also loved. But now that you can say, well, because Capcom officially named Kage as a separate character, I can now say I love Kage so much more than Evil Ryu. And I don't think you could have them both in the same game.
No, I don't think that's necessary. And like, he's actually not on my radar to be in future games, period.
Yeah, so looking at the tier list and acknowledging that he's cool and good, but you can't have Kage and Evil Ryu in the same game, I'm going to go ahead and put him next to Violent Ken in C tier.
Ooh, I was going to say next to Ballog because I just feel like we don't need this character where we're at this day and age.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
It seems weird to put him that low, but it's if you say C, if I say C and you say D, either one is fair. And we don't have enough in D yet.
Yeah, and if he's gonna be so, you know, you would really, really want to see Kage again. Like,
right. If we get Kage, I don't want Evil Ryu, so the D makes sense. If for whatever reason we can't get Kage, I will cry and then I will accept Evil Ryu much lower on my want list.
So yeah, if there was no Kage, would he replace him in S tier, or would he be now somewhere in the middle?
If Capcom said you're never getting Kage, where do you place Evil Ryu now? I'd probably say like A or B, because he's cool, but he's no Kage.
Yeah.
Kage has a special place in my heart.
Damn.
Best Shoto period.
Best Shoto period. Damn.
For me. Not like the strongest.
Yeah.
My personal favorite. Gil. So Gil was a boss character in Street Fighter 3. I believe you could not play as him at all in Street Fighter 3, as far as I know.
I don't believe so.
I think you passed him. He's down below Hugo.
Oh, thank you.
And then, so they brought him into Street Fighter 6.
Or 5.
Oh, 5, sorry.
Yep.
Street Fighter 5, as far as I'm aware, the first time you can actually play as Gil. So I think a lot of players who were into Third Strike were really excited by that. He was considered a weak character. I would consider him a gimmicky character in that he's very all or nothing. You press your game plan, you're very aggressive, and you either you win fast or you die fast, and there's kind of no adaptation there.
All or nothing, no middle ground.
Yeah, that, and it's like you have a strong plan A and you run your plan A until someone's dead and you hope it's not you. So when I'd play online in Street Fighter 5. I could run into 5 different Gils. They all played exactly the same.
Really?
Yep, just parry everything, press a lot of buttons, dash when it's not your turn, and hope they don't react. So I'm not excited to see Gil come back in 6. I'm going to go ahead and say C tier.
Okay, I'll give you that C tier. I don't care either. I think his physical design is kind of meh for me. I thought his super art looked really cool in 5, but like that might be it. And the balance of ice and fire. But even then, like he had a lot of the same animations as Urian also, because that's his brother. And
then also in Street Fighter 5, Gil was the only character that couldn't crush counter.
Oh.
Do you remember this?
No, I don't.
So he doesn't have any crush counter normals. He has a retribution system instead, which is this weird combo of like you have to do a fire move into an ice move or an ice move into a fire move, and like it was so stupid. Like nobody got it. Like Gil mains used it because he had it, but like it wasn't cool or good. Like it was just weird.
Yeah, that sounds weird.
Yeah, they shouldn't have done it.
Leave him in the past.
Give him a crush counter button and patch Street Fighter 5.
All these years later.
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting.
Remy is like the worst Guile clone in my opinion.
Not a fan of his look or his gameplay.
I think his look is actually pretty cool. He's kind of like a goth. He really reminds me of like an SNK character.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
so that might be like Capcom, trying to copy them a little bit. I think Remy's cool. The only game I know that he's ever been in is Third Strike or Street Fighter 3 for that matter. And he wasn't good. I think he looks really cool. And I think if they were to bring him back in 6, I think they would like really tool him up and give him lots of cool stuff and lots of good changes. They might, I'm not going to speculate too much, but I think that they're likely not going to bring him back. But if they did, they would give him, they would put a lot of love into him. And so I'm going to go ahead and say like B tier for Remy.
Yeah, I agree. Middle of the road.
Yeah, we'll take him or leave him.
Yeah, basically. Because didn't he have low sonic booms?
I think he did. I think he could choose. And then he had like a super that was just like 7 or 8 sonic booms.
Yeah.
Like mid-low, or something like that. We never had to worry about it because I didn't play that much Third Strike, and when I did, nobody was playing Remy.
Yeah, an underrepresented character.
Yeah,
so that's why I'm like, meh.
And it's kind of fair to put these underrepresented characters in B tiers. Like we basically didn't see them before.
Yeah.
Dan the man.
I know, Tom. Right now, if you're watching this at home, I know you're all squeeing and excited.
So Dan the joke Shoto. He was in 4. He wasn't good. He was in 5. He wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Am I excited to see him back in Street Fighter 6? I think Dan has to come really late in a game's seasons now.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of a waste of a slot. Like, they're never going to make Dan great. They might make him mid-tier, but in a competitive game, basically no one's picking mid-tier or below unless it's the character they love.
Yeah.
And I think very few players truly love Dan besides the fact that he's like a meme character and they enjoy the feeling they get when they beat their opponent when Dan's like, haha, I won with Dan.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, he kind of feels like an option select character because when you win, you get to rub it in. When you lose, like, well, I was using Dan.
I was using Dan. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and so because there's so many other Shotos in the Street Fighter universe that I would like to see. I wouldn't hate to see Dan, but I guess I'm going to place him C tier. What are your thoughts?
So Yeah, I could kind of take him or leave him, and yes, he is the joke character. For his like story, I love the heart that he has.
Yep.
The tear flip, flick at the end of some of his win animations, I thought was cool because I've definitely gotten emotional in some of my wins, so that resonates with me. But other than that, like, yeah, I couldn't really see myself playing him. I think the most I've ever seen of Dan was playing with Tom Litt in Street Fighter V for the very little that we did. So you said C?
I said C.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, honestly, just because like. And I'll fatten this area up a little bit, just kind of see. Like, I'm not going to cry if he shows up. But again, I agree with you also that if he's going to show up, I expect to see him way later in the game.
Yeah, because like I said, he's kind of a waste of a slot. So to see him early in the game, it's like, you wasted a slot now?
Yeah. And right now, as a Street Fighter community, we don't need that. We need Season 2 needs to be super hype. And it's not that Season 1 wasn't. It was spoiled through leaks. So I think Season 2 needs to really, really knock it out of the park. And if this guy was to show up on, right before Evo, I'd be a little upset.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I also think that because Season 2 needs to be hyped to keep this momentum on this fantastic game going, if they release brand new characters that they just made up, it needs to be like the minority of the new characters. Like if we get four characters for DLC, maybe one of them could be brand new and 3 of them are returning characters. I think that like the middle of the season or the game's lifespan, for that matter, Season 3, Season 4 is the time to introduce like 3 or 4 brand new characters that we haven't seen before. But for now, it's like we're the hardcore Street Fighter fans are playing, and the fans who are mildly into Street Fighter are still playing. We need to string those players along as long as we can.
Absolutely, because Tekken right now is huge. Tekken, oh my god! All right, let's not get into that.
Yeah. Next podcast we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah, if you want that, put Tekken 8 in the comments.
Dudley. So, in contrast to putting Balrog so low, I would love to see Dudley come back. And for one reason in particular, Smug. Smug needs Dudley. Smug has not been the same. He's a very strong player. I think he's easily top 5 in the United States for Street Fighter games. He was a force to be reckoned with in Street Fighter 4. And he was young then. I think he was like an older teen. I think he was like 18, 19 or so back then. Yep. And he was just like destroying everyone in America. And then in like international competition, it was like there was a handful of players who were strong enough to shut him down. But yeah, love watching him play Dudley. I was hoping for Dudley in 5 just for him. And so because we didn't get Dudley in 5, I feel like we really need him in 6. So in contrast to Balrog, Dudley's an easy S tier for me.
I agree. I would rather have Dudley over Balrog, and knowing what I know about Ed right now, I would rather have Dudley than the Ed that we have right now. I just love how he's the, he's almost polite to an insult. Right? How proper and dapper he is. And I would love to see Smug make a really big comeback, because when 5 first came out, I know he's playing Karin, and that didn't really feel like a suitable fit for him. Balrog comes out, that's the whole life of the game for him. A little bit of G also, but yeah, I would love to see Dudley. So you said S?
I said S.
Yeah, I'm gonna put him up there with you, honestly.
And then for 6, I don't even know who's he playing. DJ? I have no idea. I haven't really seen him.
Honestly, yeah, and he hasn't been super into the competitive scene. He's doing a lot of the home YouTube stream stuff lately, so
which is fair. You got to pay your bills, but it would be exciting as fans to see him fall back in love with competing in Street Fighter. And I think he needs the right character to do it. Dudley's obviously the number 1 character to do it, and there might be a few others. Like maybe if they brought G back, he might get excited. Yeah.
I always think of him and Punko. And, and he's just laughing at the camera because he's already got his, face in his hands and does the whole shirt thing. Yeah, that would be really, really hype. Let's go.
Hope you're watching, Capcom.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Be one of my subscribers, please.
Necalli.
Okay.
So Necalli was a character like pretty specifically for Street Fighter V as far as like the storyline goes. So I'd be surprised if he comes back. But assuming that they were to bring him back, then the question is like, how excited am I to see him? He was considered like mid-tier pretty much the entire lifespan of Street Fighter V. He was never great and he never sucked really. And so I think if they were to bring him back, they would have to make him strong in order for him to seem interesting or to have players interested in playing him. So where I'd place him on the tier list, either A or B. I'd be happier than not to see him come back.
I like his play style, and I could see as the player that I am today, I could see myself using Necalli. I just found that he was just so cringe in every other way outside of his playstyle. Seeing him, how he talked and sounded in the story mode, which is an abysmal story mode, but that's neither here nor there.
And it was not out on release.
Yeah, I just like that it was hard for me to really resonate with the character outside of initial gameplay.
Right. And for me, I felt his game plan was strong, but so painfully simple that it was like, I'm going to do this thing, and if it works, I win. If it doesn't work, I lose, and there's not much to do to adapt because my character's so simple.
Yeah, very basic.
It was a lot of stand, medium kick, walk up, stand, medium kick, crouch, medium punch. Hopefully, because I did stand, medium kick, walk up, stand, medium kick, maybe now they're going to jab, think I'm going to do it again, and then my crouch, medium punch gets a counter hit. You have to do, a one-hit reaction. You have to cancel that. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought he was cool, but like, as one of the characters I dabbled in, he was like one of my least favorite as far as like using him goes.
Because like his kit was, no projectile, but he had the ground stomps.
He had the ground stomps and he had the slashes, which could like break a projectile.
Okay, that's right. I forgot about the slashes. Yeah. And then having this DP was fine. I think having a command grab was really interesting. I could so obviously see like what we've seen so far with Street Fighter 6 is level 2. The hair gets crazy. He's got that extra buff for that amount of time.
Which in Street Fighter 5 was the rest of the round.
Yeah. Wasn't in the beginning, wasn't it the rest of the game? And then they changed it to just the rest of the round?
I don't believe so. I think it was the rest of the round. So basically his V-trigger was indefinite for that round. Yeah. And then I think later on they gave him a new V-trigger that does end at some point.
Okay.
And so, yeah. Yeah, so I think he had one V-trigger that was indefinite for the rest of the round and then another V-trigger that actually had a timer.
That makes sense, yeah. And I forget what he even did because he was just so underplayed.
Well, his V-trigger was basically he just got buffed. So, like, some moves, like some of his attacks.
V-trigger 1 still?
Yeah, V-trigger 1.
Yeah.
Like, his attacks made it so, like he normally could only combo crouch medium punch into crouch medium punch on counter hit. But in V-trigger, his regular hit was like a counter hit.
Okay. And then he didn't have to charge the slashes in V-trigger. He could just hit back forward and do it, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing what they did with him. I say medium interest. Where did you say to place him?
I said A tier.
A tier?
So I'd be fine with your A or B, wherever you think.
I'll put him in B for now.
Sure.
Because, like, I'm not against that. But
yeah, I feel pretty nothing about him, to be honest.
He's Necalli here, no Necalli there.
Yeah. Decapre.
This was a thorn in the side of many other players from 4, right?
Yeah, especially because she came out so late. I think she was one of those characters that was like not balanced well.
Yeah.
And then, back then, at least in my opinion, Capcom just didn't do a great job with balancing. And so when a character came out strong, they basically stayed strong until the game was dead. And so she came out late. And so only a handful of strong players really picked her up and like learned how to use her, Knuckle Dew being one of them. And so anytime you saw Decapre, it's like, oh, if you see Decapre, it's a really good Decapre player. Nobody dabbled in Decapre. It was all or nothing. They stuck
with her, yeah.
And I think she was really good and really, really strong. For me back then, I wanted to play Decapre, but because I wasn't as good at fighting games back then, I had a really tough time like doing her inputs. And so the other good thing about Decapre, so like back then she had like a mash input for her slash attacks.
Yeah.
And I always hated mash inputs and I was always not very good at them. So if she were to come back in 6, mash inputs are gone.
That's
so
true,
she wouldn't have that issue. She was a charge character, so she'd probably still be a charge character, I would assume. So yeah, I'd be pretty hyped to see Decapre come back. I'm just torn whether I'd choose S or A, but maybe your input would help me choose a little bit.
So I trying to think like logical and story wise, right? Like Shadowloo's dead and gone, right? As we think, right? Oh no, not really, because they're still after Ed. Like Shadowloo is somewhat there, but
Right, but the Shadowloo characters are not in. They're not characters you can play yet.
How she was vastly different from Cammy, or is she still
totally different character. The only reason you ever say DeCaprio and Cammy in the same sentence is because it's Cammy's body as a doll.
Okay.
But the play style is like completely different.
And she would have to be like retooled a little bit too, because Ed has now taken her her ultra, the big, the psycho ball and everything.
Perhaps, I mean, they could just give it to her too.
Yeah. You put her where?
Either S or A. I'm having a hard time deciding.
All right, I'll say A.
Okay, that's fair.
Because I wouldn't mind it. She'd probably like would look good in the game and stuff. And as far as like Nikali over DiCaprio, I would probably choose DiCaprio over Nikali just to have in the game, even regardless of who I would play. Yeah,
I think my favorite thing about DiCaprio, well, two things. One is she has a flash kick with punch where she like punches up.
Oh yeah.
It's a flash kick input. And then in Street Fighter 4, because you had FADC, so she could flash kick FADC into air throw.
Oh,
and even though it wasn't like, I don't think it was like a good combo to do, it just felt so good.
It's just so cool.
It was so satisfying.
Huh, nice.
So we might see something like that come back. Hugo. So Hugo was originally in 3, as far as I know, and he came back in 4. He was like not considered good in 4, but he was like a hard counter pick. Like we saw, I'm forgetting names at the moment. Alex Valle versus Bonchan.
That's one of the coolest matches. That was so hype.
That's like a top 10 Street Fighter replay for me. And so Alex Valle using Hugo and Bonchan using Sagat. And I would argue, being as respectful as I can, in Street Fighter 4, Bonchan was a much stronger Street Fighter 4 player than Alex Valle and much more established as a name to look out for as far as like getting far in the tournament than Alex Valle.
Yep.
And Alex Valle bodied it free.
That's what made that so much better, actually.
Yeah, it was free, and because it was Alex Valle, it wasn't like some random person. It was like, oh, here's like, an old school player,
a legend.
We had a legend of the game who we haven't really seen do as much lately. Just show up and show these new kids how it's done.
And like there's so many hard reads in that set that makes that so godlike. And but as far as a character is concerned,
I mean, he has the claps, which are going to be really annoying.
Because those nullified fireballs, right?
They nullified fireballs, and I forget which one was which, but like I think maybe the heavy one was slower and like +1 on block or something. Like,
to set up a frame trap or something.
Yeah, it was just really annoying to deal with. And so, do I want to see him back? I mean, he is a grappler, and I think we have, already on this tier list, in addition to the grapplers that we have in the game, I think we have some good grapplers, good representation.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a little bit less excited to see Hugo come back. So I'm going to go ahead and say B tier.
I'm with you on that. Yeah. I like Hugo, and the very little of Street Fighter 4 that I've played, because of my love for grapplers, I played him a little bit too. We had the PB Cup in the backyard of Tom's apartment like 2 years ago, and didn't have much time with Street Fighter 4, and I wanted something that felt familiar, so I did play Hugo for like a couple of weeks leading up into that, and he's just fun. He's big, he's slow, he's ugly as hell.
He's hard hitting,
which I do like. So yeah, I could see that middle of the road B for us.
Yep.
In the street stage that you fight in, isn't he in the background, or is that just one of his goons that looks just like him, or his brother or something? Because he's from also this side-scrolling beat-em-up game. Please leave it down in the comments which one it is. I'm so sorry that we can't think of it right now. So like, is that Hugo in the back, or is that just one of his brothers?
Are you talking about in the background of Street Fighter 6?
Yeah. Like,
I'm trying to think, because I know he was in the background of Street Fighter 5 for sure.
Yeah.
I think he was also in the background of 4 before he came out.
Really? Oh, yeah, because he's working in the construction area, right? Yeah.
If my memory serves correct, I think he was in the background in Street Fighter 5. as well. And then he didn't come in Street Fighter V, obviously.
He's kind of in the same vein as Abigail, right?
Yeah.
Because he's like overly big body grappler.
Right, and the only way to balance him at all is to make him basically bad. And so then the only players who are using Hugo love Hugo. So same thing, like if you see someone using Hugo, you should be afraid. Well, because one of two things is going to happen. Either it's like a new player and you shouldn't be afraid at all, or it's a Hugo main who only plays Hugo and knows all the tricks and all the traps,
through, yeah.
And they're going to, knowledge check you to death. Gouken. I love Gouken. I think Gouken's so cool.
Yeah.
I think, he's one of my favorite Shotos. I think he was cool and good in Street Fighter 4. And the only reason we didn't see more of Gouken is because there were simpler Shotos that were essentially stronger. Like Ryu in general. Like Ryu was so good in Street Fighter 4 that it was kind of unfortunate. Like so many people played Ryu over all these other cool and interesting characters because like Ryu was strong and simple. So like why play a complicated version of Ryu when I can just play Ryu? But yeah, I think Gouken was really cool. He has parries similar to Colleen's.
Okay, yeah. With like a parry to a counter attack.
Yeah, and so same thing. Like Colleen had like a low parry, mid parry, overhead parry. Gouken had the same thing. And then with Colleen, she had 3 different EX parries. So she had an EX low, EX mid, EX high.
Okay.
And they basically just did more damage and stun. But with Gouken's, his EX parry covered all 3.
Oh,
so he only had
okay,
one
cool.
EX, but it just covered anything. So like kind of like I can't think of the word right now. JP's reversal.
Amnesia.
Amnesia. So it's kind of like amnesia, but it doesn't work for throws. So it just like it counters anything you do to him besides the throw, including fireballs. With Gouken, I think his focus attack was one of his like best tools in Street Fighter 4, and so I think it'd be really cool to see that kind of animation come back for his drive impact.
How interesting would it be to see him in the same game where Ryu is at right now in his story arc? Because Ryu feels very strong in Street Fighter 6, and obviously this is the best version that we've ever seen of Ryu in a story manner. So like how cool would it be to see him? He's got the same like sash, right, as Ryu does and stuff.
Yeah. I think it would be really cool to see. It'd be interesting, like how old do they make Gouken? Like
yeah, by comparison, right? Yeah, because if we're talking Street Fighter 4 in the timeline, that's right after Street Fighter 2.
Right, and Gouken's old in Street Fighter 4. Like I don't know how old, but like at least in his 60s, based on the white beard.
Yeah. So where would you put him on the tier list then?
I'm gonna go ahead and say S tier. I think I want Gouken back.
Oh wow!
I think if they brought him in, especially if we don't have Colleen, I think he would be like my Colleen replacement.
Really? Huh.
But if you don't feel as strongly, I'm happy to drop him down to tier.
I would go to A, meet you at A, because he kind of rides the middle line for me, like take it or leave it.
Sure.
But yeah, I think he would be a cool addition, only for like I'm thinking like story, not so much gameplay,
Yeah, and I'm totally fine with that too, because like I have much stronger feelings toward like Kage and Colleen than I do for Gouken. So like if we want to drop him to A, I'm not gonna fight you on that.
All right, cool.
But Kage stays in A.
It's Kage.
On S, I mean. Lucia. So I actually played some Lucia in Street Fighter 5.
Really?
I mained her for like maybe a month or so from the time she came out. I thought she was really good and really cool. I liked her aesthetic. I like when she said, you want a cup of coffee?
Yeah. She sounds like us when she says it a little bit, or that New York Metro City thing.
Yeah, definitely Northeast.
I agree. So she was actually on my list also as kind of like a backup, because I had the 4 and I was like, but I would also like to see Lucia because especially with World Tour mode being what it is, and I think she would just fit right in for the Metro City. She's the police.
Yep.
I thought she had a really interesting kit, how she had to like create the fireball and then send it out, and Yeah, I would be interested in seeing her in the game without even being like, oh, I'm a big Lucia fan. If she came out, I'd be like, oh, I'm more interested in this, and I would probably give her a try.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest issues with Lucia in Street Fighter V was that Karine was in Street Fighter V. And Karine was just better and easier to play, so like no one gave her the time of day. But in a vacuum, or like in a game, in a world where Street Fighter V didn't have Karine, or if Karine was much weaker, Lucia's fantastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and say A tier for Lucia.
Yeah, I'll give you that. A tier for sure. I would really like to see her in the game, and I think for season 2 would be a great time to introduce her in, because she came in so late in the game for Street Fighter V.
Yep.
If there's any Lucia mains that are here in 6 right now, it would be a great way to boost the momentum of the game. And she's just so different and interesting, and not as played out as some of these other characters. So I would really like to see her for sure.
Yeah.
I think of James Chen.
Yeah.
He really liked her a lot. Ooh.
M. Bison.
Go ahead.
I don't like M. Bison. I don't like M. Bison at all. I didn't like him in 2. I didn't like him in 4. I didn't like him in 5. The stand heavy kick in Street Fighter V gives me nightmares.
Uh-huh. So is he one of the Ds for you then?
Yes. I don't. He's D for me, but he's like, if there was an F tier, Balrog is F and Bison is, D. But yeah, he's still D. I do not want Bison back. I'm so happy that none of the Shadowloo characters are in Street Fighter 6. And if they were to bring any of them back, it's like, I do not want Balrog the most, and then I do not want Bison second most. I'm fine with Sagat, and I'm kind of okay with Vega. But yeah, and Bison is low on my list.
Ooh. So when M. Bison was in part of that fake leak, I was a little excited, and I guess only surprised that they would bring him back so quickly. I do halfway expect him to come back. I would imagine with a different aesthetic maybe, or a different like grungier feel. But I did put a little bit of time in M. Bison. I did really enjoy him, and he's just that big grin, the white eyes, that intimidating walk. Like I know I didn't play a lot of 4, but I love the way he looked and felt in Street Fighter V. So if you're gonna put him at D, would you be okay with? Or should I put him in C?
I'd be fine with C.
C, because like I think I have more interest in him than you, but I don't think it's likely that we'll get him yet, if at all. But yeah, M. Bison, that would be kind of cool.
If they do bring it back in Bison, I hope they bring a Bison that's more similar to the Street Fighter 2 Bison, where, he's, flying up and coming down, kind of like Vega does now, and like, he has like the Psycho Crusher. Because like in Street Fighter V, he didn't have the Psycho Crusher until he had V-Trigger 2, right?
Yeah, and that was a little annoying. I was kind of like, how is he missing this key part of his kit? They gave him other things in his kit, which I thought were great. He actually finally had a fireball that he had to spend meter for.
Yep. Which I didn't like.
Which you didn't, because that just set up more of his game plan, right? He could slide behind it to kind of get in, or do what's that? What's the Devil's
Reverse?
Devil's Reverse or something like that. So yeah. I don't think it's likely. But out of everyone that's in C tier, I want to see him the most.
Sure.
Ooh, I might move you later, baby. Don't worry. Don't get too comfortable there.
Karine.
Okay, yeah.
So Karine, I believe, was from the Alpha series, and then they brought her back in 5. She was a release character for Street Fighter V. Mm-hmm. She's always been incredibly strong, even from season 1, whether we realized it or not.
Oh yeah.
And she was S tier every season.
Yeah.
They basically any nerfs or buffs they gave her were so benign that she just stayed in the same spot on the tier list, and characters around her got better and worse, and she just stayed at the top. And so, personally, I'm sick of Karine, and I don't really want to see her back. I don't hate the character. I'd be excited for Punk to get her back. But selfishly, I'm gonna say like C tier. B or
yeah,
C.
I'll agree with you on that. I think just kind of like Balrog, we've just seen so much of them coming from the last generation of Street Fighter, and they were very, very strong. I mean, obviously Punk is amazing, but I think the combination of him and this character really brought them both places. So you said C tier?
Yeah, C
yeah,
tier.
yeah. I'm with you on that. I think that's accurate.
We've had enough.
Yeah. Give me some time to breathe in this game.
And also, she was so strong in 5. There was like 5 characters that had a similar game plan, and they were all
not as
nullified.
good.
Yeah.
Yep.
So nobody played them. Falk. So Falk's a very unique character in general for Street Fighter, because she has such long range pokes, kind of like a Dalsum, but she doesn't have the mobility like a Dalsum. So she's really like a wall, like a wall of pokes. And then if and when she does get close, which is really not her game plan, but if she does, she has decent combos. So she's kind of like a very, as far as like a character archetype, like this very good balance of like I'm gonna play slow, I'm gonna poke and keep you out, but if you get in on me, I'm not in a terrible spot the way Dalsum's in a terrible spot.
That's true.
And I'm also not going to rush you down the way that Dalsum can rush down.
And if she's going to spend the meter, like an OD up or whatever, she is right back to being in her pocket spacing. So I agree.
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of Falk in particular, but I know there's a lot of players that main Falk and love Falk. And in Street Fighter 5, she had like the easy controls, like 2 punch buttons for an uppercut, 2 kicks for like the horizontal special move. And so I think the time that she came out in 5, I think a lot of players used her because they were new to fighting games or new to Street Fighter and weren't as comfortable with the motion controls. So similar to Ed in 5, I think there was a lot of fans of Ed because a lot of people didn't want to do the motion controls. There's a lot of fans of Falk. And so even though Falk's not for me, I'm going to go ahead and say A tier. Come back.
Yeah, 100% with you on that. I think Falk is inevitable. I think there's no way we're living in a Street Fighter 6 world without her because she's so part of Ed's story. They are left and right, basically. So it's really just a matter of time. And I could so see her coming out for Season 2 because of how recent Ed is, just to kind of keep that whole story rolling.
Yeah, and because Ed and Falk both had like the easy controls in 5, I was expecting to see a lot of modern Eds, and so if Falk comes back, I expect to see a lot of modern Falks.
Yeah, 100%.
Struggling.
I know, we gotta grease the wheel.
Adon.
Yeesh.
I think Adon is so cool. When I first started playing Street Fighter 4, I thought he was so cool I wanted to main him. But then I actually tried playing him and found that like his playstyle doesn't really mesh with how I like to play Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I couldn't use him, or like I felt like if I was playing Adon, I was kind of like wasting time because like he's really not for me. But I think Adon aesthetically is cool. I think like his voice acting, like his essence is so cool. I think if they were to bring him back, I think they would do a lot of like good changes for him. And also, like, because he has a lot of, like, do a special move from far away, which isn't necessarily great in Street Fighter 6 because of parry and perfect parry, I think that they would buff him a good amount, making, like, a lot of his special moves either plus on block or, like, safe on block. So, like, a lot of situations like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing that's -3, and then you have to worry if I'm going to EXDP in your face. So, when we were originally, before we decided to do, like, a tier list and the picker wheel and basically place all the characters, we were talking about like, let's each pick 4.
Yeah.
Adon was in my 4.
Really? Wow.
So while I would completely understand if you don't agree with me on this, I'm going to pick S tier for Adon to come back in Street Fighter 6.
Oh, I think this is the most shocking decision of the night so far. I find his voice acting to be intense and extremely annoying.
Yes, annoying for my opponent.
Yeah. I don't even know if I could handle, even if I was winning a bunch, I don't know if I would grow to love it or just hate it even more using him. I don't know much about his game plan or play style because I actually know more about him through the Alpha series, just playing against the computer and randoms online and stuff. But yes, huh?
If you ever go back to like look him up, watch GamerB play Adon. He was like the #1 Adon player.
Yeah,
and he made him look so strong.
Really? So for me, he's like not even on my radar. And I would compromise with you and put him in A, but I'm gonna give you S because I think it'd be cool just to see him up here to fill up the space, obviously. And no one's talking about him, so I think if he was to come out, people would blow up probably,
Yeah.
right? And be really excited. He's Muay Thai like Sagat, but plays in a completely different way.
Yeah, he's like very fast and chaotic.
Which would match what Street Fighter 6, right? A little bit. Interesting. Wow, that was a shocker. Screenshot my reaction to that, because that was like, well, I was not expecting that at all. That could be the thumbnail.
It could be. Adon.
Oh, we already did Alex, and I never took him off. My fault. Where is he at? Alex. All right. One more time.
False alarm.
False alarm. Sorry. We want him so bad that we put him on there twice, okay?
Twice. S tier and S tier again. Akira. So I think Akira came from rival schools.
Yes.
Which I know nothing about. I only know the name because of Akira.
Yep.
Akira came out in 5 late in the life. I made Akira. I love Akira.
She's so different.
She's so cool. I love her stand heavy kick. I like her normals really set her apart from some of the characters that were similar to her. But unfortunately, like Lucia, Karen just made it not make sense to play her. But I liked her a lot, and I didn't really like Karen, so I did play her even though she wasn't as strong. And so I would like to see her come back. So I just have to kind of pick, like, do I want... Is she even on here?
Oh, yeah, right here. It took me forever. As soon as you said it is when I found it.
Yeah. So Akira, I definitely want her back. So I guess the question for me is, like, how badly do I want her back? I guess I'm going to say A tier.
A tier?
Because I do want her back, but not... I wouldn't fight for her.
Okay.
I'd fight for Kage.
Ooh, and you'd fight for Adon, apparently.
I'd fight for Adon.
Damn. So I'll match you with A tier. She has a really cool aesthetic and a cool gameplay, and I love how her big brother was the
Daigo,
the assist, and but like watching her gameplay, I never gravitated towards her to be like, oh, I think I should play her. Right. But when I played against people who were Akira mains, I remember being like, wow, they were super strong.
And also she had one of the best crouch medium kicks, and like it was pretty easy to confirm. Like because I play on hitbox, I would press crouch medium kick and I'd buffer heavy DP, and if I seen it hit, I would hit the kick button. It would come out like a nice 2-hit combo. So I can imagine her crouch medium kick into drive rush being extremely powerful in Street Fighter 6.
I lost to an Akira main at Summer Jam.
Yep.
And because like I only entered Street Fighter 5 because it was a free tournament. Of course, I still have love for the game, just wasn't playing it a whole lot at the time. But I remember being like, oh my, I got smoked, and being like, I have no idea how this character operates or what they're trying to do. Like that obviously they were really good at what they were doing. So I had respect for that.
And again, like if you were an Akira main in 5, like you're itching for her to come back in 6.
Or like another character from that series would also be interesting.
Yeah, or just that play style. Fei Long. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut and let you speak first.
Okay. I feel like we are overdue for Fei Long. I love the Bruce Lee style archetype, okay? And I love what they did with his moves. I just think it's so interesting, although awkward looking, that spinning flame upward kick and things like that. But we haven't had like a character that represents the Rekka community, except for like Karine, right?
But even then, her Rekkas
weren't the same, right?
And also, they were really only when she was in V-Trigger.
Yeah. So I would he was on my list. So for me, he would be S tier. I want to see him come back. I want to see what he would look like. Law looks so cool in Tekken 8 right now, and that's the counterpart to that. So I'd love to see what Capcom did with him. Give me some Fei Long.
I am going to 100% agree with you. Fei Long is so cool. We had him release in Street Fighter 2. He came back in Street Fighter 4. 2, 4, 6. It's time for Fei Long.
It's time, yeah.
Let's bring him back. He has the command grab. Like he basically has everything Jamie has, but he doesn't need drinks.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
He has the Rekkas. He has the DP. He has the command grab. He doesn't have a dive kick, but he has the chicken wing flip kick.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like Ken's, I forget the name of the kick.
Oh, the Dragon Lash.
Dragon Lash. It's basically Dragon Lash. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he fits right in.
Yeah. No, I better see Fei Long soon. Do you remember hearing like the Bruce Lee family? There was like a thing that they said they didn't want him represented, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's all BS because like Law is in Tekken. He's basically the same thing.
Yeah, they came out like I want to say a month or so later, and everyone online was already like mourning the death of Fei Long. You know, like we'll never see him again. And the family, the Lee family, basically said no. As long as you are true to who he is in spirit, we of course we want to see him represented and never forgotten. So.
Right, as long as you don't make him like the Dan character that looks like Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm sure that's what they're afraid of.
Oh, like because Dan looks like Steven Seagal a little bit, right?
Well, yeah, but also like Dan, it really is like the joke character. Like he's supposed to be bad. So like if there was a character that personified Bruce Lee, but he was like the joke character, like we're making fun of Bruce Lee. No. I could understand the family not liking that. But everybody loves Fei Long. He's like a very serious character, and in every game he's been in, he's been strong. Like he was good in 2. Maybe not that good, but he was good in 2. He's very strong in 4.
He was at least exciting in 2 because you could see how he was new and refreshing, but still had like certain like I have a DP motion with kick. Okay, I can relate to that. Oh, what else does he have for a toolkit?
And I forget what his inputs were in 4, but in Street Fighter 2, his DP was backwards.
Oh, you might be right, actually. Yeah. I think that is how it was, which actually isn't bad. That would probably work out so much better for me.
It's better defensively.
Yeah. You're walking back or you're blocking, so especially on leverless.
You could do both. So like you could walk back and like tap down, and if they jump at you, press kick.
Yeah. Oh, I'm watering at the mouth for some Fei Long right now. Let's go.
I got a fever.
Yeah, that's right.
And the only prescription is Fei Long. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Colleen. One of my many mains from Street Fighter V. One of my most favorite. Actually, she might be my number 1 favorite character in Street Fighter V. Even more so than Street Fighter V Guile.
Wow. Explain why.
Stand Heavy Punch. Stand Heavy Punch gives you everything you've ever wanted in a Street Fighter.
That's like the back fist kind of, right?
Yeah,
she had, right?
It's special cancelable. It's safe. I mean, they made it -4 on block after like nerfing it, but it's -4 at a range where like it really doesn't matter, and it's special cancelable, so you just like stand Heavy Punch into like rollback, or like stand Heavy Punch into like light ice hands, and like you're safe, like you're good. She has the parries, she has the EX parries. One thing I like in Street Fighter games is when I can pick a character and feel like I am using all of their tools and their entire kit, and Colleen is exactly like that for me. Like, she has a lot more tools than Guile has, because Guile's basically as simple as you can get.
Yeah.
But every single one of her tools makes sense to me. It's useful. I love throwing out random overhead. So like Drive Rush overhead would be so cool with her.
Yeah.
Her V Trigger 2 was a command grab.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so many cool things they can do with her. If her level 2 super in Street Fighter 6 is basically her V Trigger 1, where it's like she lays down ice on the ground and then she can slide in. Her V, so I said that wrong. Her V skill 2 is her command grab.
Okay.
Her V Trigger 2 is the most broken thing in a Street Fighter game, or any fighting game in general, where she basically has infinite drive rush and just can drive rush.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would be fine if they don't bring that back, because drive rush gives her that mechanic back. And so I'd be fine to see like her level 2 super be like her V Trigger 1, which you lay the ice on the floor and then you can do cool stuff with that. Her level 3 would basically just be her super or critical art from Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
And then maybe they do something different with her level 1.
Where she like maybe like the ice punches that she had could be more of like a super animation, kind of like Ryu has the Hadoken and the Shinko Hadoken or whatever.
Yeah, or even like it could almost be like a parry super, where like if you do it and no one touches you, you whiff. But like if you do, like if someone does like a super, like say like they do level 1 to you and you react with your level 1, then you like hit them back. That would be really cool.
That would be kind of hype.
Basically like a super parry.
What about so in V Trigger 1, she also would lock your stun bar.
So that was there was multiple moves that she had that had the ice freeze mechanic.
Okay.
So her V skill 2 command grab had that mechanic.
On the stun bar?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
So you can do it out of V Trigger. You're not in V Trigger. You just go for level 2 grab and freeze the stun bar.
So then how would that apply to Street Fighter 6? Does that freeze your drive bar and you're not able to rebuild any more drive bar for that minimal time. So if you have to spend it to get out of a mix-up, you could put yourself in burnout or lower your drive gauge.
I don't know. I think that would be really hard to balance, and so
Yeah.
I'd be totally fine if they don't freeze the drive at all. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's like it turns blue like it did, but it just goes up slower for a couple seconds.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just feel like it's hard to balance that, but that part of it is like even if they took that away from Colleen in 5, I'd been totally fine with it. It's like the rest of her kit just works so good. Like she has a crouch medium kick that reaches really far, and it's +1 on block, but it's not special cancelable. Like just so many good tools that I like using. So
I'm gonna match you.
Instant S tier.
I'm gonna put her in S. She is this character has 1 Evo with Kuwano, right?
Yep, Evo Japan.
And and even the last I think the last Evo America for Street Fighter V, it was IDOM and
you might be right. I could be totally messing this up. You might be right.
Because I don't follow the Evo Japan as much, but I remember like the last Street Fighter V Evo being like, wow, and Colleen took it.
Yeah.
I thought the animation and art style for Street Fighter V to be really jank, and I hate when the hair clips through the body. So I would just love to see a new vision of her and be just cleaned and tightened up for Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, I liked her, and I liked all her costumes except for her swimsuit costume. I thought that was awful. Like one of the worst costumes I've ever seen.
I don't even remember it.
It's really ugly.
Did she still have the hat on? Is that why?
No, I'll show you later. It's awful.
Cool. So Colleen's in there. Oh, I never took her out.
Cody. So Cody was, I think it is Final Fight.
Yeah.
So I think he was a Final Fight character, and then they brought him in for the first time. Well, in Alpha, right? He was an Alpha character.
Yep. Yeah, he was in the Alpha series. You know, he's that punk. He's got the handcuffs on. He has to pick up the rock and or the knife. So his mechanics were really, really interesting. And I guess he played the same in 4, right?
So the way he worked in 4 is he always had the rocks and then the knife. So at the beginning of the round, like 99 seconds, your 2 characters are here, and then right in the middle on the floor is the knife and arrows pointing to it. But I think what was interesting in 4, if I remember correctly, because I didn't see this very often, I think if it was a Cody mirror match, I think there was still only 1 knife.
And they had to fight for it? Oh, that's so interesting.
But
then if he got hit, he lost the knife, right? Is that what happened? Or a knockdown?
Yeah, I forget exactly how it is. But yeah, you can make him lose the knife, or he could throw the knife at you. I forget exactly how it all worked. But in general, the knife wasn't even that good. I think it was really good for like dealing chip damage. So it was like more annoying than anything. Or like if your opponent's health was really low, and then you grab the knife and you go to chip him out or whatever. But like, yeah, it wasn't that good of a mechanic.
What about the rest of his kit?
So he has I think it's called Rising Upper, which is like the tornado going up. I think that was really, really cool.
And like a shadow kick style looking thing, right?
Yeah, so we had like 3 different kicks. So we had like basically like the low kick, which he slides.
Oh, that's right.
The
Yeah,
medium kick where he kicks medium, and then basically it looks like an anti-air, but because it moves forward a little bit, it's a little bit too slow to anti-air, even though it's possible. So that was kind of like a move where like you would combo into it to pop them up. And then I think you could like FADC into Ultra 1, or you could just pop them up and then like set up rocks or like go grab the knife. And so I'm mostly talking about Street Fighter 4 Cody, because Street Fighter 4 Cody was so cool. Street Fighter 5 Cody, in my mind, wasn't Cody. It was a different character that they called Cody, and he had a similar aesthetic, but it was really a different character. Like, it was really like the difference between like Evil Ryu and Kage.
Okay, yeah,
like that wasn't Cody, that was like the mayor. You know what I mean? It was something different. I don't know how to say it right. And so Cody in 5, I don't think was nearly as cool. And I think the only reason people played Cody in 5 was because they loved Cody in 4 so much. Yeah. And then even though they didn't necessarily like Cody in 5, he was really, really strong and simple to play. And so it became like, why not play Cody?
Yeah.
What do you think about Cody?
I think Cody makes sense for Street Fighter 6 where we're at, especially like considering the lore.
Yep.
As far as we know, Hagar is passed on, right? Or we assume he is, because there's that monument like statue of him in Metro City. And since he is the mayor of that, I think it'd be so cool to see him again. I kind of liked I personally prefer this aesthetic compared to the, you know, jailbird looking one. His story was really good when in that part of his life. There's a I can't think of the individual's name. He was competitive in Street Fighter 4 and he ended up working on Killer Instinct, but he said that he sympathized with Cody because he felt like his day-to-day life was like being in prison.
Oh yeah, the being the mayor is like being in prison.
You know, and then but every once in a while he's able to escape and go out and do what he loves and is passionate about, and that's fighting. So I resonate with that only a little bit, but I like this look, and I like the toolkit that he had for Street Fighter V was a lot of fun. I think the only thing that I didn't fit in with me and my playstyle was like the negative edge buttons that he had to hold for Zonk and things like that. I found that a little difficult. Same thing with Birdie.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Zonk inputs or negative edge special moves. I was never a fan of the mash inputs.
Yeah.
So seeing that those are essentially gone in Street Fighter 6 is a good thing, in my opinion. So I could kind of not care so much if they didn't bring back Cody. So I'm feeling like a B.
Okay.
But if you wanted to work it up to A,
yeah,
that makes sense.
I think so. I think A would be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense, especially for like fans of Street Fighter, like, you know, taking ourselves out of it. I'm sure a lot of the listeners are, you know, have Cody at S or A on their list.
Yeah, I think like if you were at a major tournament and they had the trailer for Cody, the pop in that room would be deafening for the rest of the weekend, you know?
Are we good?
Ooh, yeah. I don't know what is about this website, but that it makes that screen
slows
like
down a lot too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So Oro.
So Oro was a Street Fighter 3 character. I think he was like a niche pick. Like he wasn't terrible, but like he wasn't like considered like top 5 as far as like power. So like if you ran into an Oro, like if you had like a third strike tournament and someone picks Oro, you're like, oh shit, this is an Oro main who knows all the tricks. And then they brought him back in 5, and I don't think he was necessarily good in 5. I think he was kind of like a gimmicky, like knowledge check character. Like if you didn't know how he worked and didn't know what was real and what was fake, he could get away with a lot. As far as seeing Oro come back, I could take it or leave it. So maybe, you know, A or B.
I'll put him into B because like we just saw him.
Yeah, he was late to Street Fighter 5.
Yeah, and like I don't particularly, you know, his look doesn't draw me in. His play style doesn't really draw me in. I found him very difficult to use or to get good with in Street Fighter 5. So I'm kind of middle of the road and meh for him.
Yeah, I agree.
I can only think of like Brian F. and I think Broski like played them towards the end. That was it.
Yeah, and so besides them, no notable players that I can think of.
Yeah.
Sagat. So unlike the other Shadow Lu characters, you know, Bison and Balrog, that I would hate to see come back ever in any fighting, you know, any Street Fighter or fighting game. I think Sagat is really cool. He's essentially a Shoto.
Yep.
And I think he was the coolest in Street Fighter. So he was in 2, 4, and 5. And so I think he was actually the coolest in 2. Because in 2, it's like he was really big and had the long range, but he was fast.
He was so strong.
He did a lot of damage, but he was fast like Ryu and Ken were. And then in Street Fighter 4, he was still relatively fast, but he was like kind of bulkier. And then 5, they kind of doubled down, was like make him basically slow like a grappler with no command grab.
Yeah.
And he hits pretty hard still, but he's not as fast as Ryu and Ken. He's slow now. So you have to be very deliberate with your choices. So I think if they bring Sagat back and speed him up a little bit, yeah, I think I would love to see Sagat back, and I think a lot of Street Fighter fans would love to see Sagat back.
I agree.
So I'm going to go ahead and say A tier for Sagat.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think his story arc has been really interesting, from degenerate bad guy to what he's grown to become now, and a more likable character. I do like the projectile zoning game. I never knew, did he have the carrot cancel stuff in 4?
Yep.
So I didn't know that. So when I saw that in 5, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And you got a little more horizontal movement. I thought that was really, really cool. So yeah, I'd be down to see him again. And I agree with you. Speed him up just a little bit and rock it.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with the Kara moves in Street Fighter 4 is like that was not by game design. That was just like basically like every move could be canceled after one frame into a different animation.
Oh.
And so they did that. So like if you went to press like light punch and medium punch like one frame later, then your medium punch like frame 1 it would show the startup of light punch, but then frame 2 would be frame 2 of medium punch. So you cancel your animation.
Okay.
And so the way Kara works is there are some moves that they move forward on frame 1. So like I think it was Sagat's forward medium kick.
Yeah.
So you would do forward medium kick and then uppercut. And so frame 1 you would move forward from the medium kick, and then frame 2 was frame 2 of your uppercut.
Yeah. So you're already crouched down, right? Rising up.
Yeah. And so in Street Fighter 4, there's only a few characters that really made great use of Kara. And another character that did that was Ken. Ken had a Kara grab. Because I think it was his forward medium kick was like a step kick.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he would do like frame 1 step kick into grab, and he basically had a command grab because he could grab you from so far.
Oh, wow.
And it was so hard to tech in Street Fighter 4, at least compared to like Street Fighter 5 and 6, where the tech window is kind of big.
I think look how big A tier is looking right now. It's the most saturated one so far.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
Which is good, because I expected a few more to be down here, to be honest.
Yeah, I think there will be a few more. I think it's really just the luck of the picker wheel.
Yeah.
Saving the worst for last.
Pickerwheel.com if you ever need to make some big life decisions.
Not a sponsor.
Yeah. Okay.
Poison. Yeah. So I can't remember what game Poison was originally in, but I know that she was in 4 and 5.
She's also from Final Fight. I think she originates from there.
That makes sense.
She's either a boss or something like that.
Yeah, so I think Poison's really, really cool. And earlier we were talking about bringing back Laura for Idom. And this is another one of Idom's characters.
Yep.
And so I would much rather see Poison come back than Laura. And I'm not a Poison main or really that big a fan of hers. But I know there's a lot of fans who are really into her. So this is an easy A pick for me.
Yeah, easy A, yeah.
What do you think?
She's not someone that I would play, but like I think I'd be like, oh well, Idom must be stoked right now, and that's probably about it. She didn't really have much, or they didn't really have much of a presence in 5 outside of Idom, right? In the competitive scene?
In the high level competitive, that's true, but like, you know, in locals I'd see some Poisons, like Super John played Poison.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, since I can't really decide, and I don't know. If you say A, I would probably do B.
I'm fine with either one.
Yeah, I'll go B.
Sure.
Just to kind of fatten up that tier real quick.
Sea Viper. I think what's so interesting about Sea Viper is because her inputs were really hard to do in Street Fighter 4. I feel like a majority of Street Fighter 4 players essentially couldn't pick her because they couldn't effectively do her special moves and cancels in a way that it was like cohesive and like a solid game plan. So I was saying earlier that like Ryu was so good in 4 that like most of the players just played Ryu and they didn't deal with the more complicated characters. And Sea Viper was exactly that. She was more complicated. And you could argue it was worth, like the juice was worth the squeeze, but hardly anyone tried her out. And so like I know Latif was like the Sea Viper player.
Yeah.
And so I think she had a lot more potential that just nobody saw because they didn't want to deal with a difficult character. And so I'm pretty sure Sea Viper was in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. And I think that if they were to bring her back in 6, I think they would retool her a little bit to make it easier to play. And so I'd be looking forward to seeing Sea Viper. So for me, it's either like an A or a B. What are your thoughts?
I don't know anything really about the character outside of what I've seen from Latif and everything. And, you know, and again, with Street Fighter 4 not being a big title for me at the time. But I find her look interesting, and what I have seen of her gameplay, I think just would be cool, and I think she would really fit in very well with 6. Yeah, with the driver. She's kind of more on my radar for S. I think it would be really cool to bring her back. We saw her in 4. Let's bring her back for 6. We didn't see anything about her, and she's just not. She's not like represented highly in Street Fighter right now.
Yeah, and I think she's really cool. Let's put her on S.
Yeah.
let's do it.
She's different, right? Like,
yeah, there's not other characters that you can see like, oh, like Sea Viper, like this, like not only her aesthetic and like her character, but like her toolkit was so different.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she'd fit in really good, and I bet there's people out there that are like, yeah, bring her back.
Yeah, the Sea Viper mains probably didn't play any Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
Bring back Latif.
Yeah, right. Get him off Guilty Gear for a bit and bring him back to Street Fighter. Boo. This is like the most disliked character reveal trailer, I think, in Capcom history.
And not because it wasn't well done. It's just literally that nobody likes Abigail. He's like the archetype of grappler is like, oh, I'm big and strong, so like I do a lot of damage, I have a lot of health, but it's hard to get in. And Abigail's bigger, stronger, more health, relatively hard to get in. But yeah, I think he's just like Zangief gone too far.
Yeah.
Where like, people accept Zangief because they're like, oh, he's working really hard to get in. Like, yeah, he's kind of gimmicky, but that's what he's for. Like he's an original from Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, that's his only pass.
So for Abigail to walk in and be like, I'm an even more, like atrocious version of Zangief.
I was gonna say obnoxious, but yeah,
atrocious. Like disgusting. Like I've crossed the line essentially, and here I am, and no one's happy to see Abigail.
No, and like all the salt from him doing just ridiculous damage when he first came out before they turned him down.
Crotch jab.
Yeah. Cool Kid. I think of Cool Kid when I think of him.
Like, the Abigail man.
He did really, really good with him.
Yeah, D tier. Sorry.
D tier. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't care if I ever see him again. I would play him against certain friends just to troll them because I know that they hate the character, and I would just do the dumbest things that would end up working out or get that big damage, and they'd just be like, "Why is this character so stupid?"
And that was part of the issue with him in 5. Was like in Street Fighter 5, part of the issue was like, if you play fast and loose and it works, you have the life lead. If you play fast and loose and it doesn't work, now you have V-trigger.
Yeah,
and so Abigail Mans they had so much health, they had no reason not to just go ham from 99 seconds until someone died.
What was V-trigger 1?
So that was the one where he could like charge up his punches and it would like break armor.
Oh, okay.
So he couldn't block.
Yeah.
And because of the proximity block, if he was like charging up, you basically have to like hold up back to get out. Because there was no. So if he had something like that in 6, you could just parry it, so it wouldn't be as bad. But still, I don't want him.
I don't know many people that are at the picket fence line, asking for Abigail.
I'm having war flashbacks.
Yeah.
Birdie. So Birdie was from the Alpha series, and I think he was a charge character. Either that or he was supposed to be like a charge character in 5, and then before the release they switched him back to motions, if I recall correctly.
And he's got one of the one of his moves is the negative edge.
He has a zonk. And so I wasn't a fan of Birdie in 5. And so along the lifespan of 5, they nerfed him a good amount.
Yeah.
To the point where I felt like he was fair. And so in the end, it was like if you played Birdie, you were like a hardcore Birdie main, like Mena did. And there wasn't that many Birdies that just like really dabbled in him. So I felt like if he wasn't nerfed, if he stayed strong like he was originally, like I would have hated the character. But by the end, I feel like they nerfed him the right amount for that character archetype. That was like, yeah, like I think Birdie's cool. So I think if they were to bring him back in 6, they would get rid of the zonk input, which would be a good thing.
That's true, yeah.
He's a grappler, but like I don't know. I think parry and drive rush, against him, like so you can use it on defense against him and offense against him, would make him pretty fair. So I don't think I would mind seeing Birdie come back. I think it's like a B tier for me.
B tier, okay. I am I'll put him in B just because it's the middle of the road. I don't hate nor love the character. Yeah, we'll go B tier. Wait, I see
That's
where
the pointer is.
Yeah. One more time. Yeah. No love, no hate, just kind of meh.
Yeah, and like I said, throughout the lifespan of 5, my feelings changed. Like I started out hating Birdie, and then at the end I liked Birdie, and so right in the middle for me.
Because like he has to work real like any type of grappler archetype. He has to work hard for his reads. So he had the anti-air grab, right? The other one, and those the one on the ground could be blocked, right? Still.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, he had to get in to do the other one.
Yeah, he had like the hop command grab.
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
Like Blanca has now.
He was just so odd and unorthodox. That dolphin that he did and stuff.
I think part of the issue with his design and like balancing was like he was actually really safe. And so if you just played really good neutral with him, he basically became a zoner who had a command grab if you got too close.
Okay, yeah. It'd be interesting to see what they do with him for Street Fighter 6 because of all the, will he get the can? Or is that RNG now for like a down punch input or something instead of V-skill?
Yeah, but I also think that they could do a better job balancing him this time around. Like, I think having parries really helps make him less crazy.
And if they were to redesign him, I would like to see them take a little bit more of a serious approach with him and not so much like this hokey kind of comical bumbling character, like yes he looks mean, but he doesn't look like the brightest bulb in the box.
Yeah, I think like a lot of Street Fighter 6 characters having like the 10,000 health would be a good thing for him, like bring his health down a little bit. Necro. So Necro is in Street Fighter 3. As far as I know, it was the only Street Fighter game he was ever in.
Yeah,
so no love for Necro. I didn't like the way he played, but I thought his aesthetic was really cool. And so similar to some of the other characters I've been mentioning, I think if they were to bring Necro back, they would do a lot to change him and like make him more playable and like fun to play. And so I guess I don't really feel one way or the other about Necro. I think he could be cool. And so I'm going to go ahead and say B tier.
I would say C tier maybe, just because like he aesthetically doesn't do anything for me. He kind of looks like a dollar store version of Quan Chi from Mortal Kombat. And what he has like that spinning move, right, where the arms come out a little bit more.
Yep, and he has electricity, kind of like Blanca.
So
she's kind of like a mix between Blanca and Dalsum.
For the Third Strike era, where those characters weren't there because they were trying to rebrand. So like, and you put him into Street Fighter 6 now. Is he completely retooled because you don't need to have the electricity and or the moves? Does he actually replace Dalsum because maybe he's doing things that Dalsum isn't doing as well with? I'm gonna go with C. If that's all right. Just because I don't know anyone other than I don't know anyone that's like, yes, I need Necro in my life. That's what Street Fighter's been missing since the late 90s.
Yeah, I don't think people will be super stoked to see him come back.
Yeah.
So CT makes sense. Zeku. So Zeku is really interesting because he was 2 characters in one. I think if Zeku comes back in 6, I would like to see him released as 2 separate characters.
Oh, or like just pick one, right? Like give him a lane and stick with that.
Yeah. I mean, really, like 2 separate characters. Like they should release young Zeku and old Zeku.
Huh? And why is that?
I think that being able to switch from one to the other is really powerful and hard to balance. And the only way you can make that balance is if you make both characters. Like, if you make each, like, young Zeku can't be as good as any other character, and old Zeku can't be as good as any other character. They both have to be, like each one has to be, 75% of a full character. So then switching back and forth, you kind of get the full kit, right? The full kit, exactly.
So seeing that Street Fighter 6 is taking place directly after Third Strike, right? That's where we're at. So I think I like the design of old Zeku, and I liked his gameplay, and I feel like there's plenty of other characters that were kind of doing what young Zeku could do.
Yep.
I'm more interested in the old Zeku.
Right, and so if they were to split him into separate characters, like they can essentially buff old Zeku because he has no longer access to young Zeku. And same thing, they can bring young Zeku in and buff him. And also they have the choice of bringing in one and not the other. Like it would be.
Yeah.
I agree. I think old Zeku is way cooler than young Zeku. Young Zeku is kind of like a weird version of Guy.
Yeah,
so I'd rather see Guy and old Zeku come back as separate characters.
Yes, I think that's accurate. I liked his gameplay.
So ignoring young Zeku for a second, I'm basically going to place it as if it's old Zeku because that's really him. I feel like old Zeku is Zeku, and then young Zeku is like the form you transfer into. So Zeku, I'm gonna go ahead and say A tier or B tier, like somewhere around there.
I'll meet you at A because he's an S tier for me.
Okay, yeah, A tier is fine for me.
Because like I think he could offer a lot to Street Fighter 6.
Yeah,
he is such a cool and fresh design for 5. And I like his gameplay. I think I would love to see him be an inevitable character for Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, and I also think that his like flip attacks were really hard to deal with in 5, and so having parry makes it a lot more manageable.
That's true. Yeah, or even like his zoning game, because he's not throwing a fireball, he's actually extending like that the flash movement of his limb, right?
Yeah, so it did have fireball properties.
It did?
Yeah,
okay.
But it didn't like travel slowly across the screen like you expect a fireball to be.
So if you were to perfect parry, you would get the same animation that you would for a fireball in this game. And okay, cool.
Yeah, much easier to manage.
I like that. That he was an attractive character for me to want to pick up, but the turnoff was the 2 characters.
Right. It's like if I don't use young Zeku, I'm using not a full character.
Exactly. Yeah. And at that point, learning so much about fighting games was a task. So to be like, I technically am learning 2 characters right now, I found that very difficult. And that's why I don't play like tag or assist games too much, because I just find that extra addition to be a little overwhelming.
Right. And if you treated him as 2 separate characters, like you could say, well, young Zeku is really easy to learn. He's a simple character. Young Zeku is old Zeku is a little bit more complex. Elena, I'll let you go first.
I know I never suffered with any of you in Street Fighter 4 with her, but knowing what she's like and playing a little bit of Third Strike, I have no interest in ever seeing this character again. And when she was part of that leak list, I was like, please no. Please, I don't want that.
So I agree with you. I also don't want Elena. The only thing I want from Elena is the music from her stage.
Yes. Beats, right? That's that one. Yeah.
So bring back the song, leave the character out of it.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me first, I probably would have said like C, but it sounds like D.
D. I like... she's right there with Abigail, in my opinion. Like, get these 2 out of here and just put them in the Disney vault. I don't ever want to really see them again. I'm traumatized by that. Like, seriously, with Ballog and everything.
And
no thanks.
Do you know how she worked in 4?
Yeah, she had to. She would use her ultra meter, right, to gain health back.
Yeah, but you could you could focus attack. Like FADC works. Like if someone throws a fireball, you can focus to basically drink it and then backdash so nothing happens. But when you do that, your ultra meter goes up. So if you throw a bunch of fireballs and she drinks them all, now she can heal without taking any damage.
Oh, and she would take gray life, right, with the focus attack?
She would, but if she played defensively, she would gain it back.
Yeah. No, I don't. Yeah,
so she was trading gray life for ultra meter, and then if the gray life came back, that means she spent no health meter, got ultra meter, and then that turns into health.
Into real health.
So she's just in a roundabout way. When you throw fireball in neutral, you're healing her.
Yeah.
Like it just is more steps to it.
So now that shuts down that mechanic, basically, right? That tool. So
yeah, it's just stupid.
No, thank you. She's had her 2 games. That's it. I'm done with it.
Yeah. Rufus. So Rufus was in Street Fighter 4, and then they brought him back for Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I think Rufus is really cool. I had a big character crisis in 4 where I played a bunch of different characters and didn't really take any of them way too deep. Rufus was one of them that I really, really enjoyed, but he was hard to play. I would love to see Rufus come back. S tier.
S tier. I'm with you on that. I would love to. Rufus as his aesthetic, I don't care for.
Same.
I thought the jiggle, mechanic on his belly was hilarious, and he's like, his play style is very serious, but with like a joke looking character body, or not body, but like, his aesthetic. So I had him in my list as I want Rufus back, but I want him like reskinned. I would love to see a different character that can do Rufus things. So kind of like Lily to THawk is what I would like. Even if it was a female, I think that would be really, really cool to see someone do what he does in that body style.
I actually heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'd heard that before Rufus came out in Street Fighter 4, they didn't design him to be like this big fat karate guy. There was like a leaner, stronger character with these moves. And then for whatever reason, last second, like, no, let's make him fat and funny.
Yeah.
And so I want pre-release
Yes.
Rufus.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, like kind of like Abigail, right? How can you take this character seriously? But then you're kind of getting bodied by them. And I know there was a lot of high-level Rufus players like Ricky Ortiz and Justin Wong and stuff. So, yeah, I would like to see, in the words of Combo Fiend, I'd like to see that function return.
Yes. Bring back the function.
Yeah.
Gen. So Gen was only, I think might have been in Street Fighter 1, but he, you know, as far as I know, he's a Street Fighter 4 character.
And Alpha.
Well, oh, he was an Alpha?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. In the Alpha series. He's like one of the last few people that you fight.
Okay, cool. So I was not a really big fan of Gen in 4. Really, the only time I saw Gen in 4 is when
Shan.
Shan was playing him. Yes, I drew a blank. Yeah, and so really it feels like, you know, because I think Gen was in 1, and like you're saying, he was an Alpha, which I barely played Alpha, and then nobody played him 4 in Street Fighter 4 except for Zien. It's almost like in my mind, like he's not really a Street Fighter character in my mind.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't love to see him back, and I wouldn't hate it either. So I think it's a pretty simple B tier for me.
B tier.
What are your thoughts on Gen?
I don't know. Even though, like, you know, I've played the Alpha series a little bit. Probably a little bit more than 4. I just don't find anything that he does to be like, oh, wow, this character is sick or looks cool or I like their function. I'd really like to play as them. I would probably go C tier.
Sure.
Like, not super likely, especially where we're at in the timeline and this being an older gentleman. Yeah, kind of meh for me.
Yeah. Sorry, Zien.
Yeah, sorry, buddy. You had your time with them. Thinking about it. Yeah.
Menat. So when Menat came out in 5, I know a lot of players were upset because they really wanted Rose, and Menat was supposed to be like Rose's apprentice. But then when she came out and people learned how to use her, they realized like, oh, this character plays very different from Rose. It's really not like a Rose clone at all. And so I think once people figured her out, because she wasn't a very simple character to figure out in the first place, but once people figured her out and like showed that, and then other players that essentially copy that play style, she became like very strong and like essentially scary to fight against.
Yeah.
And so even though I'm not a fan of Menat, I'm not a fan of fighting against Menat, I think enough of the player base enjoy her and would like to see her come back, and I would like that for them. So I'm going to place her in A. What do you think?
I'm 100% with A. I think she is adorable looking. You know, she has a very specific game plan style, which was she was a complete pain in the ass to fight against, you know, especially with crush counters then and
that orb stand heavy punch.
Yeah.
And putting the orb behind you and then doing a string and bringing it back.
Yeah. She was completely annoying to play against, but she's got style. She looks cool. I loved her walk animations. People were really, really digging on her, and I think she's even cuter than Rose. But and just offer something completely different. So yeah, I'm gonna go with A 100% on that.
Yeah, her play style is very, very different. She's kind of like a little bit like Dalsum, but I mean I'm not gonna explain this well, but she's kind of like a mix between like Dalsum and Falk.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah, I think she could also be an inevitability in this game. That's true. Like I think there's enough people that would want Menat to come back, and she should. For this timeline, especially.
Yeah. And also, she came out late enough in 5 that she didn't get enough screen time.
Yeah. And I think, was she season 3, I want to say?
I don't remember the seasons. It was all a blur.
Yeah. And I think when she came out, people were kind of like, meh. But once they figured her out, started playing her, that like reinvigorate a lot of players. Like, oh, no, this is something worth putting some time in. Yeah,
especially once they figured out the V-Trigger 1, because that wasn't an easy nut to crack.
And those combos were so cool.
So long and then right into... Critical art was
level 3, yeah. Oh yeah, critical art. No, level 3 then. Yeah. There's only one level.
Were you gonna bring up Sako?
Yes, thank you. Yes, exactly. I was like, who is that person that is known for their execution? And yeah, watching him play with that was just like, oh man, what a god.
Vega. So I don't have strong feelings about Vega. I thought Vega was annoying in Street Fighter 2, and then with Street Fighter 2 HD Remix, I actually liked Vega and I played some Vega.
Why?
His stand medium kick was really good.
Okay.
And just like poking and playing neutral in general. Like I would play Vega with like very few off the wall bounces.
Yeah.
That was weird. Okay.
That was super weird.
And then so Vega came back in Street Fighter 4 where he was really bad and had like a bunch of one frame links for like no good reason. Like combos that should be bread and butters were like impossible to do. And they brought him back in 5, made him not a charge character, and gave him a command grab and like the ability to like have the claw on and have the claw off.
Yeah, rather than losing it as the match went on, right?
You could do either. So if you have the claw out and you're using it, if you block too much, you'll drop it and you can't use it.
Okay.
But if you put it away and you're playing the grappler version of Vega, then you can block as much as you want and you won't drop the claw. So I think the Street Fighter 5, so like the Street Fighter 4 version of Vega was just bad, and the Street Fighter 5 version of Vega was like clumsy and overly complicated. So he wasn't a high tier or highly used character in either of those games. So I think that Street Fighter 6 can be a good opportunity for Vega to come back and be like a full character with a full kit, and it all makes sense.
Especially with all the other mechanics that go into the game.
Yeah, and like part of it is like his mobility was interestingly bad because it was like he's fast, but if you're not able to walk back and forth because your opponent is like throwing out fireballs and stuff, then you find yourself like either jumping in, which is really risky, or doing the bounce off the wall, which is reactable.
Just as, yeah.
So he seemed gimmicky for those reasons. So I think Street Fighter 6 could be a good opportunity for him. But again, I'm not super excited for him, so I'm gonna say B.
He's a C tier for me.
Okay.
I kind of don't. Growing up with Street Fighter 2 and nothing but myself in arcade mode, I hated playing against him. And Clint would dabble with Vega when we were playing a lot of Street Fighter 5 together towards the end. And I thought it was annoying online. I thought it was even more annoying in the hands of Clint. He likes that style, that character archetype.
Yep.
So I don't want Vega.
Yep, I'm fine with that because I would be happy to see essentially none of the Shadow Luke characters come back, Sagat being the one I want back the most.
Yeah, agreed.
So like Balrog and Bison I actively don't want. Vega, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with putting him in C.
Yeah.
And also there's a good chance Capcom messes him up again because they did it every time.
Yeah. Even like when that fake leak came out, I think they said something about his hair, like they went back to an original hair color. Because I think he was blonde and then went to brown, or vice versa, or brown went to blonde and he was back to brown, I think, for 5. And the whole claw thing, and I don't even like. Speaking of Adon, I don't like the sounds he makes either. Like I just find him really annoying.
Like the yodel?
No, I don't even like his costume. No, I know it's very
like Spanish bullfighter.
Yeah, but like it worked so well for 2, but I think in a modern day, you look at him and you're like, I think whoever made this character was confused. Yeah. They didn't know which lane to pick.
Yeah. But if they do bring him back, I like to see claw on all the time. You can block as much as you want. You never drop the
Yeah. If he's going to have it, give it to him.
Yeah. El Fuerte. D tier.
Yep.
I hate El Fuerte.
Yep.
Talk about an unbalanced character. He was only in Street Fighter 4. Hopefully that was the last game he's ever in. He had an infinite combo that was arguably, it was hard to do. I'll give him that. It was hard. But that doesn't mean he should have it.
Yeah, I'm with. I don't.
I hope he's not even on here.
Yeah, I thought for a second he was. I was like, that is poetic justice that he's not even on here. No, I found like I think a luchador style wrestling grappler character would be so welcomed. I just don't like the execution of what they did with him.
His run was so fast. The fact that he could run stop, I feel like was really broken. I feel like you should run like run and then you have to commit to something. I feel like once you start the run, you shouldn't be able to stop it.
Or even if you can stop it, the recovery should be longer. Yeah, exactly. Because you're taking a risk to make that advancement, right?
Right. Because I'm kind of thinking about how you like in Street Fighter 6, like in neutral, you can like dry rush into jab and then block a DP. It's like that would make sense, but his run stop was so fast you can combo into it. Like it's crazy.
No, I don't want that. I thought his sounds were also annoying. Yep. The squeak of his shoes, the things he would say, and then what was it? The cooking time was his like.
Cooking time.
He'd come up with all the pans and that matches Vega. I think they were just very confused on which direction to actually go with this character.
Yeah, so I agree with like having like a Mexican luchador character would be welcome, but not El Fuerte.
Yeah.
Get him out of here.
Take El Fuerte and commit to that character archetype.
Right, and make him like a wrestler, like a grounded grappler. Make him like a baby Zangief.
Yeah, and then like
maybe like a baby Zangief who's not as fast as El Fuerte, but like as fast as Ryu.
Yeah. I could see that. And then like give him those luchador wrestling moves. So kind of like Vega where he could bounce off the wall. I would love to see him have that type of mobility, like a top rope looking thing or whatever. That'd be interesting.
But not El Fuerte.
But no, don't give me that.
I don't want a reworked El Fuerte, a reskinned El Fuerte.
Yeah, no, I don't want to see that name on a character select screen.
Guy. So Guy was really, really cool, I thought. So I think he was a Final Fight character who came into... Was he an Alpha character?
He was an Alpha, yeah.
So Alpha and then Street Fighter 4. I thought he was so cool in 4. When I first started playing 4, he was actually my first character I tried to main. But I found him a little bit complicated. And back then I was really not good at fighting games. So like I needed something that was simple and straightforward. But I would love to see Guy come back.
So would that be an S or an A for you?
I'd put him in A.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah, I don't feel that strongly to say S tier.
Yeah.
I think he's really cool, and I think he has enough fans that people would be excited to see him. But S tier for me is like, if they announce him that day, I'm losing sleep that night.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
I'm just not that excited for Guy.
Ooh. I can I?
Do it.
I have to, because since you said that, literally today I'm at work and I'm going over what we're going to talk about on the podcast, and I know I have my list, and I'm setting up for my tattoo for the day, and the idea of playing Urien in 6 popped into my head, and it like jolted me with excitement, and I had a little extra pep in my step, and I'm just thinking about all the cool things he could do in the game, and yeah, I want that Urien. I want that. All right, 4 left. If you're still here, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're at the 2.5 hour mark. We really, really appreciate you guys hanging out and watching. Let us know in the comments what you think of all this so far.
Yeah, let us know what tier list we can do next.
That's true. Yeah, because these are a lot of fun.
And I mean, the time just flies.
It does.
It feels like we're an hour in.
It does.
Abel. So Abel, as far as I'm aware, was only in Street Fighter 4, and he came back in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I think he's such a cool idea that he's a grappler that has like an anti-air grab. Like I loved seeing that in Street Fighter 4. I wished I could have played him more, but because that character archetype is just so not my style.
Yeah.
I played a little bit of Abel on the side for fun, and it just wasn't really for me. But I would love to see Abel come back, and I know that 801 Strider would love to see Abel come back.
Yeah, that's a face that is, just as much of an icon as Abel. I mean, you see one, you think of the other, right?
Yeah, so that's an easy A for me. What do you think about Abel?
So I would probably agree with A. I had fun messing around with him before the release of Street Fighter 6. Jared and I we were always playing games together. We hang out a lot. So we dabbled into 4 because he had no experience with 4. So the very little that I did, I showed him. And I knew this character had like decent strength, right? Like competitively. So we were both trying to figure him out together. And I was having a lot of fun with that discovery. Being like and then when Manon came out, that was the comparison there too. Like, kind of like an Abel, French and grappler style. But she's not doing what Abel is doing at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I could do A also. I'm torn between A and S because like if he came out, he would be someone I would definitely consider for a bit.
Yeah, let's put him in S.
Okay.
I want to see Abel come back.
Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. And I know fans also would really, really be excited to see him come back.
Yeah, he's a pretty unique grappler. There's not other one. Like, he has, like, the flip kick and everything.
Yeah, and then he also had, like, the roll, too, right?
Yeah, you can roll right behind you.
Yeah.
Roll into command grab.
Left, right, mix-up. I'm about that. I want that. Not in the Ibuki sense. I know I said I didn't like it for Ibuki, but I liked it with him. What interesting characters we have left.
I know, right? Oni. So I think Oni is really, really cool. I think obviously he's never going to be as popular as cool as Akuma.
Yeah.
And when he came out in Street Fighter 4, he was just like a unique character that was not as strong as Akuma. And so people kept comparing him to Akuma and be like, this character sucks. But if you ignore Akuma for a second and don't compare the two and just don't treat him as, yin and yang, or like Ryu, Ken, Akuma and Oni. It's like, if you look at Oni by himself, I thought he was really, really cool and decently strong. And so I would love to see Oni come back, a little bit better, a little bit more cohesive. So yeah, A tier for me.
A tier, yeah.
What are your thoughts on Oni?
I think so. A lot of what Oni had in 4, Kage got some of that in 5. Is that correct?
Yeah, like the air fireball and stuff.
The air fireball and that and the movement that he had in the air, and Oni having an air raging demon. He's a sick character. I know Boltazo, if you're watching, I know you put a lot of time into Oni and are a big fan of him. You said A tier?
A tier for me.
Yeah. I could see, but again, like, I'm gonna be one of those that's still gonna kind of compare him to Akuma, and not even like having experience with the character. I'm just kind of like, well, which one? Like, I either have a hamburger or a chicken sandwich. They're both delicious. They both do different things. Which one do I want? I'll go with A. I'll match you on that.
So there's 2 left. This is the final spin.
The final spin.
And such short names are left.
I know, that's true, right? Yeah, that's true.
Q. So
Q.
As far as I know, Q is only in Street Fighter 3, and G is kind of like a reskinned, reimagined Q.
Yeah, people are wondering actually if G becomes Q.
Ah, interesting.
Right, and that's why like the names are so similar, and I think the move sets are. I think he shares like 2 moves that are kind of similar. Does he have like the low dash punch and then the command grab?
I think so. I honestly don't know nearly as much about Third Strike or Q in general, because even in my minimal experience with Street Fighter 3, Q basically never came up.
Yeah.
He's a very underutilized character.
So I would say if I had to choose between the 2, I would rather have G.
I agree.
Because I think he's a stronger character, but I wouldn't be upset to have Q. So if G is A, I think Q B.
I agree with that. I would place him in B as well. I don't feel positively or negatively if he comes in.
Yeah. And like so in another comparison is I find that G has a lot to his toolkit, and Q is very simple is the other. So
yeah, maybe if they gave Q some more tools, we'd be a little bit more excited about it,
found a common ground. So like I think Q looks cooler than G.
But G has the Q costume.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, that's true. I forgot about that for a second. So, there you go. That even brings the similarity to them even more. So, I think that's a good spot for him.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And then the final character being 12 that's a throwaway, too, in my opinion.
That's a D.
That's a D. Yeah, like...
So 12 I don't think was good in Street Fighter 3 as far as I know. But he was just, like, fast and annoying.
He was annoying. Yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I didn't play a lot of Third Strike, and when I did, I wasn't as good at fighting games, so, like, maybe I just didn't know what I was doing. And so you could argue that, but this tier list is not about strength. It's about how badly we want them and how excited we will be if they release them. And so if in Season 2 for Street Fighter 6 they release 12, I'm like, oh, that's like a waste of a slot for me.
100%.
I'd much rather have Fong. I'd much rather have M. Bison or Necro. Like,
you would rather have M. Bison.
M. Bison C tier.
I know, but I just the disdain you had. He's only here because I put him there. You were ready to put him in D.
He belongs in D right next to 12. I'm just saying, like, if I look up from 12, it's like, yeah, I can't put 12 any higher than D.
Yeah, no, I agree. Not a fan. So looking where we're at right now, we talked about maybe making some movement here and there for what we want, and now that everything is complete, what stands out to you to where you would like to move certain characters around?
I honestly think it's pretty good.
Yeah. The one thing standing out for me right now, I kind of want to see Lucia in S.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think she's unique enough.
She's so unique, so different, and just underrepresented in the community. And I think she would just be a great fit for Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, and also, like, when I think of Lucia, I think of Akira because they released, I think, one right after the other. And, like, I agree with you. Like, if I could pick Akira or Lucia, I would pick Lucia.
Yeah.
Like, I played both characters in 5, and I put more time and effort into Akira because she was better and I enjoyed her more. But, like, in general, like, yeah, if I could pick, I'd just pick Lucia.
Yeah. Cool. And then
looking at the rest of them, like, I'm not seeing anything that's, like, really out of place. No, get out of here. No.
We settled on C. Leave it alone, Ryan. Cool. All right. Well, that's been long enough. If you're still hanging out with us, we really, really do appreciate your time. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video.
Yeah, thank you for listening to us ramble about Street Fighter for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
It's a lot of fun. And like this speculation is something that I think happened earlier on in the season because we knew who we were getting for the rest of season 1.
Yep.
So I know people have been speculating about this for a while. I even looked up some other YouTube videos on what other people had said just to kind of, see their reasoning and see if that affected my decision at all too. And some of them are like, from like 7 months ago. So really, really early in the season. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button, give it a like. We really, really do appreciate it as it really helps out the algorithm for this video. If you are new here and have not subscribed to the videos, but you're interested in seeing more content like Safe Sets Podcast, our tournament runs, unboxing, reviews, and streams, please hit the subscribe button. We have just went over 1,700 subscribers as of this week.
That's a lot.
It's climbing and growing so much, and that really is all to the thanks of you guys at home watching with all of your support. If there's anything that you would change about this tier list or feel a certain type of way about it, please leave it down in the comments. Let us know what you think of these characters, these tiers, and where you would put them. And we'll catch you on the next video. Keep pressing them buttons and
stay safe.